Hey guys, welcome back to our quiet little corner of history. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a group of people who embodied a kind of remarkable, almost unbelievable grit and ingenuity. A society that built one of the world's most stunning cities on a lake, and whose elite guardians were some of the most fearsome and dedicated warriors in history. We're heading to the Valley of Mexico, to the heart of the Aztec Empire, to walk in the footsteps of the Jaguar warrior. It's an incredible story of resilience, and one that feels a world away from our own, so I'm glad you're here to explore it with me. As always, if you genuinely enjoy what I do here, a simple like, or maybe a subscribe if you haven't yet, really does help our little community grow. It just lets me know that these quiet stories are finding the people they're meant for, and I'm always curious to know where you're listening from. It's sort of wonderful to think of us all, scattered across the globe in different time zones, sharing this quiet moment together. So if you feel like it, drop a comment and say hello. But for now, that's enough of all that. The most important thing is for you to get comfortable. Dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. Settle into your bed, pull up the covers, and let your mind begin to unwind. There's nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be. Just allow my voice to be a gentle guide as we ease into tonight's journey together. Chapter 1. The Path of the Ocelot. Your life as an Aztec Jaguar warrior. Let's begin not on the blood-soaked steps of a pyramid or in the chaos of a battlefield. Those moments will come, of course. They are an unavoidable part of this story. But to understand the Jaguar warrior, you have to understand the boy who came before him. Our story begins with the scent of wood smoke, wet earth, and masa cooking on a clay colmel. It begins in a kalpoli. Imagine for a moment that you are born into this world, not in a sterile, quiet hospital ward, but in a small, windowless house made of adobe brick. The world outside is a symphony of sound, the gentle lapping of water against the foundations of your city, Tenochtitlan, a metropolis built on water, the distant rhythmic chant of priests from the great temple complex, the heart of your universe, the chatter of your neighbors in the Nahuatl tongue, a language that flows like a river. This is your kalpali, a neighborhood, a clan, a community. It is your entire world, the first and most important circle of your identity. You are not just an individual, you are a member of the House of the Smiths, or the clan of the Feather Workers. Your destiny, it seems, is already written in the collective. The moment you draw your first breath, your life is already a subject of intense scrutiny. A soothsayer, a specialist in the sacred calendar, is summoned. They consult the intricate, beautiful, and terrifyingly complex system of days and signs. The tonal puhwali, are you born on a good day, like one alligator, a sign of abundance and leadership, or a bad one, like one jaguar, a day associated with sorcerers and discord. This isn't like checking your daily horoscope for fun. This is a serious, binding prophecy that will shape how you are seen, how you are raised, and what is expected of you. The cosmos has already placed a finger on your shoulder, for good or for ill. Let's say the omens are favorable. You are a boy, born under a sign associated with strength and the sun. Your father, a simple farmer or a craftsman, will hold you up and dedicate you not to a life of tilling the chinampas, the ingenious floating gardens that feed your city, but to the god of war, Huitzilopochtli. He will make a speech, his words filled with a strange mixture of pride and sorrow. He might say, "My son, this house where you were born is not your true home. It is only a nest. Your true home is the battlefield. You are a bird destined to fly and offer your heart to the sun." From your earliest moments, this idea is woven into the fabric of your being. The world you inhabit is a precarious one. It's the fifth sun, the fifth attempt by the gods to create a stable world, and this one is powered by a very specific, very demanding fuel source, human life force. The sun god, Huitzilopochtli, is also your patron deity, the hummingbird on the left. He is in a constant daily battle against the forces of darkness, the stars and the moon. To win this fight and rise again each morning, he needs nourishment. He needs calchihuatl, precious water. He needs human blood. This is not a metaphor. It is the central, non-negotiable truth of your existence. The universe is a machine that requires sacrifice to function, and the highest, most noble calling a man can have is to be the one who provides that fuel, either by offering his own life in battle or by capturing those who will be offered up on the Great Pyramids. This is the career path laid out before you. It is the only real path to social mobility. In the rigidly stratified Aztec world, a commoner, a Meshuali, is born to a life of labor. But war is the great exception. War is the ladder. And the first rung of that ladder is a place called the Telpuk. Around the age of 6 or 7, you say goodbye to your family. This isn't a tearful first day of school where you come home in the afternoon. This is a profound separation. You move into the Telpokapar, the House of Youth, a local school run by the Kalpa and overseen by veteran warriors. There is one in every neighborhood, and attendance is mandatory for all commoner boys. Let's be clear, this is not a place of quiet contemplation and academic study. That's the Kalmekak, the school for the sons of nobles, where they learn astronomy, rhetoric, and the duties of the priesthood. The Telpokali has a much more practical and much more brutal curriculum. Its purpose is to stamp out your individuality and forge you into a single, cohesive unit of the Aztec state. The days are long and built on a foundation of hardship. You sleep on a thin reed mat on a hard stone floor. The food is deliberately scarce and bland. A single maize cake, maybe two. The idea is to toughen you, to make you accustomed to the privations of a military campaign. You are always a little hungry, always a little cold. This is your new normal. You learn to live with it, to draw strength from your own endurance. Your education is twofold. First, there is labor. You are essentially a junior member of the state's public works department. You spend your days hauling stones for new temples, dredging canals, carrying firewood for the school's fires. It is grueling, back-breaking work designed to build muscle and, more importantly, to instill a sense of communal duty. You are not working for yourself. You are working for the glory of Tenochtitlan, for the continuation of the empire. You learn that your personal comfort is meaningless next to the needs of the collective. Second, and woven into every moment, there is the training for war. The veterans who teach you are not gentle instructors. They are hardened men who have seen the horrors of battle, and they see it as their sacred duty to prepare you for it. They teach you with switches and blows. Discipline is absolute. Any infraction, any sign of laziness or cowardice, is punished swiftly and severely. You start with the basics. You run for miles, your bare feet slapping against the stone causeways of the city. You learn to handle a shield, the chimali, decorated with the insignia of your kalpali. You practice with wooden clubs and spears, learning the footwork, the feints, the brutal economy of movement required in hand-to-hand combat. You engage in mock battles with the other boys, brutal affairs that often leave you bruised and bleeding. These are not games, they are rehearsals for the real thing. You learn to function as a unit, to trust the boy next to you, to move as one organism. You learn the war cries, the songs that you will sing as you march into battle, songs that praise Huitzilopochtli and speak of the glory of a flowery death on the battlefield. The psychological conditioning is relentless. You are taught that fear is the ultimate enemy, a poison that will not only lead to your own death, but will shame your family and your kalpali for generations. The highest honor is to die fighting. To be captured is a terrible fate, but to flee is unthinkable. It is a stain that can never be washed away. As you grow older, perhaps into your late teens, the training intensifies. You might be assigned to a veteran warrior as a kind of shield bearer or porter, following him on a real campaign. You won't be fighting on the front lines yet. Your job is to watch, to learn, to absorb the terrifying reality of battle. You carry supplies, you help set up camp, and you listen to the stories of the older men around the fire. You smell the metallic tang of blood for the first time. You see the haunted look in the eyes of men who have just taken a life or watched a friend fall. You see the captives, their faces a mask of stoicism or terror, and you understand in a visceral way that this is the purpose of it all. These men are the fuel for the sun. And then, one day, your time comes. You are perhaps 17, 18 years old. You are strong, disciplined and steeped in the ideology of the warrior cult. But you are still just a boy. You have not yet proven yourself. You have no rank, no honors. You are a blank slate. To write your name upon it, you must do one thing. You must take a captive. This is your final exam, your rite of passage. It is the single most important moment of your young life. The state has invested more than a decade of training in you, and this is the moment you pay them back. A battle is looming. Perhaps a full-scale war of conquest against a rebellious province, or maybe one of the strange ceremonial flower wars against a traditional rival like Tlaxcala. The night before the march, the city is electric. The air is thick with the scent of burning copal incense. The deep, resonant boom of the great serpent-skin drum, the teponazli, echoes from the top of the Templo Mayor, a sound that vibrates in your bones and settles deep in your gut. You gather with your squad, the boys you grew up with in the Templo Kali. You paint your faces, check your weapons, and whisper prayers to the gods. There is bravado, of course, the nervous jokes of young men on the brink of something terrible and great. But beneath it all, there is a cold knot of fear. The march to the battlefield can take days, even weeks. You walk in long, disciplined columns carrying your own supplies. The veterans march at a punishing pace. You learn to sleep on the hard ground, to eat on the move. You are leaving the familiar, ordered world of your city and entering the wild, unpredictable world of the enemy. When the day of battle arrives, the scene is one of sensory overload. Imagine a valley floor, thousands upon thousands of warriors assembled. The sun glints off obsidian blades and the bright feathers of headdresses. The air is filled with the shrieking of shell trumpets and the piercing whistles that signal commands. The enemy is a wall of shields and spears across the field. They are shouting insults, trying to break your nerve. Your heart is a drum against your ribs. Your mouth is dry. Everything you have ever learned, every painful lesson from the Telpo Kali, has led to this moment. Your squad leader, a seasoned warrior, gives you a hard look. There are no pep talks, no speeches about glory. There is only a simple, brutal command. Take one. The signal is given. The trumpets scream. You charge. The first few moments of contact are pure, unadulterated chaos. The noise is deafening. The disciplined lines you marched in dissolve into a swirling, desperate melee of individual combats. A man lunges at you, his face contorted in a mask of fury. You parry his blow with your shield, the wood shuddering from the impact. You strike back, not with the edge of your weapon, but with the flat of it. This is the key. Your primary weapon is the macahuaquil. It's often called an Aztec sword, but that's not quite right. Imagine a heavy paddle of oak, about 3 feet long. Embedded along its edges are razor-sharp blades of obsidian, volcanic glass. It is a terrifyingly effective weapon. A direct blow with the bladed edge can decapitate a horse, as the Spanish would later discover. But your goal is not to kill. To kill an enemy on the battlefield is, in a strange way, a waste. It's a missed opportunity. A dead man cannot be sacrificed. A dead man cannot feed the sun. So you fight with a kind of violent restraint. You use the flat of your macahuatl to stun, to break bones. Your goal is to disable your opponent, to knock him to the ground. You might aim for his legs, trying to hamstring him with the obsidian blades. It is a clumsy, brutal, intimate kind of fighting. You are close enough to smell your enemy's sweat, to see the terror in his eyes. Let's say you succeed. You manage to strike a man on the side of the head with the wooden flat of your weapon. He stumbles, dazed. This is your chance. You drop your macahuatl, which is attached to your wrist by a cord, and you lunge. You grapple with him, trying to wrestle him into submission. Other members of your squad, your brothers from the Telpakali, might rush in to help, fending off other enemies while you work. You manage to bind your opponent's hands. He is your captive. The feeling is not one of triumphant glory, not yet. It is a flood of adrenaline-soaked relief. You have survived. You have done your duty. You and your squad mates drag the captive back behind the lines, where he is secured with other prisoners. Now you have a choice. You could go back into the fray, try to take a second captive, but for a first-timer, one is enough. One is everything. You have passed the test. You have crossed the threshold. You are no longer a boy. You are a warrior. The return to Tenochtitlan is a world away from the grim march out. It is a victory parade. The successful warriors march at the head of the column, their faces painted, their bodies adorned with the captured banners and jewels of the enemy. Behind them, stripped and bound, are the captives. The citizens of the capital line the causeways, cheering, throwing flowers. They are celebrating you. Your family is in the crowd, their faces beaming with a pride you have never seen before. You have brought honor to your kalpul. You have brought a gift to the gods. You are brought before the emperor. the Talatoni himself. You and the other new warriors, known as Telpakayaki, he who has taken a youth, are presented. Your single captive grants you the right to wear your hair in a specific style, the Temelo Toll, a kind of top knot that signals your new status. It's like receiving your first military stripe. You are on the ladder. But you are not a Jaguar warrior yet, not even close. You are at the very bottom of a tall, steep pyramid of military honor. The path to the top is paved with more captives. To truly ascend, you need to prove that your first capture wasn't a fluke. You must go into battle again and again. The requirements are explicit and unforgiving. If you and a partner capture a second man, you earn the right to wear a specific type of decorated battlesuit. A third captive, taken with a few comrades, earns you another, but the real leap comes with the fourth. If you, on your own, take a fourth captive, you are recognized as a true veteran. You are granted the title of Tequila. This is a massive step up. You are now officially part of the warrior class. You are granted a share of the tribute lands, a small estate that will be worked for you by commoners. You are allowed to dine at the royal palace, to eat the rich foods once denied to you. You are, for the first time in your life, a man of property and privilege. But the most elite warriors, the special forces of the Aztec army, are still a level above. These are the warrior societies, the Kwautli, Eagle warriors, and the Ocelot, Jaguar warriors. To join their ranks, the price is even steeper. The exact number of captives required is debated by historians, but it was certainly many more. Some sources suggest as many as 6 elite captives, warriors of high rank from enemy city-states. Imagine the sheer skill and courage required to achieve this. Battle after battle, you must not only survive but excel. You must actively seek out the most dangerous opponents, the enemy champions, and defeat them in single combat, bringing them back alive. You are gambling with your life every single time, because the alternative to victory is your own death or capture, and your own eventual sacrifice on an enemy's altar. Let's assume you possess this extraordinary combination of skill, luck, and ferocious determination. You have amassed the required number of high-value captives. You have proven yourself time and again. You are now invited to join the ranks of the Ocelot, the Jaguar warriors. This is not just a promotion, it is a transformation. You undergo a solemn, powerful initiation ceremony. You are brought to the Warriors' Hall, the Kwaukali or Eagle House, a building decorated with stone carvings of eagles and jaguars devouring human hearts. In the presence of the Emperor and the most decorated veterans of the Empire, you are formally inducted, and you are given your Tlahu Wistli, the distinctive suit of the Jaguar warrior. This is so much more than a uniform. It is a sacred vestment, a second skin that proclaims your new identity to the world. The suit itself is made from the actual pelt of a jaguar, a creature revered for its strength, its cunning, and its ability to move between the worlds of day and night. The jaguar was the animal counterpart, the Nahwali of the great god Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror, the lord of the night sky, fate and sorcery. To wear its skin is to channel its power, to become a human incarnation of that predatory nocturnal grace. The suit covers your entire body. The jaguar's head forms your helmet, and you look out through its open jaws. Your face is framed by the teeth of this magnificent predator. It is a deliberate and terrifying piece of psychological warfare. To an enemy on the battlefield, you do not look entirely human. You look like a monster, a half-man, half-beast sent from the realm of the gods. With the suit comes a new set of privileges and responsibilities. Your life is now completely different from that of the boy who once hauled stones for the Telpakali. You live in relative luxury. You are granted a larger estate, more land, and the commoners who work it. You are exempt from most taxes. You have the right to keep concubines and to wear beautiful cotton clothing and gold jewelry, luxuries forbidden to the lower classes. You can even drink octulu or pulque, the alcoholic beverage made from the maguey plant, in public, a privilege that would see a commoner severely punished. You are a celebrity, a hero of the state. When you walk through the markets of Tenochtitlan, people get out of your way. They look at you with a mixture of awe, reverence, and fear. You are living proof that a common boy can, through sheer martial prowess, become one of the lords of the earth. But your life is not one of idle leisure. You are a tool of the state, and the state's demands are constant. Your day in the life is not a 9-to-5 job. It's a 24/7 commitment. During peacetime, a significant portion of your time is spent on garrison duty. The Aztec Empire was vast, and much of it was held together by the constant threat of military force. Many conquered provinces were restive, always looking for an opportunity to rebel. As a Jaguar warrior, you might be stationed in one of these provincial capitals for months, even years at a time. Your job is to be a visible, intimidating presence. You and your fellow warriors are the iron fist that keeps the tribute flowing back to Tenochtitlan. It could be boring work, long days of guard duty, policing local markets, and putting down minor insurrections, but it is essential work. Back in the capital, your duties are more varied. You might serve as a bodyguard for the Teletani himself, or for other high-ranking nobles and priests. You are a member of the city watch, patrolling the vast and complex network of canals and causeways. You are also a teacher. You are expected to return to the telepoculi of your youth, not as a student, but as a master. You are the grizzled veteran who now instructs the next generation, using the same harsh methods that forged you. You look into the eyes of the young boys, and you see yourself, full of fear and ambition. It is your job to shape them, to prepare them for the crucible that awaits. Ritual is at the center of your life. Aztec society is governed by an endless cycle of festivals and ceremonies, and as an elite warrior, you have a starring role. You participate in sacred dances that can last for days, your movements telling the stories of the gods and their cosmic battles. You stand guard during the great sacrifices, a stoic and menacing presence on the steps of the pyramids. And then there is the matter of the flower wars, the Soki-Orkechu. This is one of the most unique and, to our modern minds, perplexing aspects of Aztec warfare. These are not wars of conquest. They are pre-arranged, ritualized battles fought against traditional rivals, most famously the city-state of Tlaxcala. Imagine receiving a formal invitation delivered by an ambassador to meet on a specific sacred field, the Cuauhtlali, on a certain day for the purpose of battle. It is a formal affair with rules of engagement. The goal is not to take territory or slaughter the enemy army. The primary objective is, once again, to capture high-ranking warriors for later sacrifice. A flower war is part religious ceremony, part lethal sporting event. The pageantry is breathtaking. You and your fellow warriors march out in your most splendid regalia. The battlefield is a riot of colour. Brilliant feather banners, shields inlaid with turquoise mosaics, and of course the terrifying Jaguar and eagle costumes of the elite. It is a performance designed to impress the gods as much as to intimidate the enemy. But make no mistake, this is not a game. The combat is real and deadly. While the goal is capture, death is a constant and accepted possibility. The obsidian blades of the Macuatl are just as sharp in a flower war as in any other. To be killed in a Soki-Ols is considered an exceptionally noble end, a flowery death that guarantees a glorious afterlife. But the ideal outcome is to distinguish yourself by capturing a famed Tlaxcalan warrior, dragging him back to Tenochtitlan to be honoured as a sacrifice to Huitzilopochtli. It is a bizarre, deadly dance of honour and obligation, a way for both sides to obtain the high-status captives their gods demanded without engaging in a full-scale war of annihilation. Let's take a closer look at the tools you use in this deadly dance. Your equipment is a testament to the ingenuity of a civilization that existed in the Stone Age. Technologically speaking, they had no iron or steel. Their metallurgy was limited to softer metals like gold, silver and copper, used mostly for ornamentation, so they perfected the use of the materials they had. Your primary weapon, the Macuatl, is a masterpiece of Neolithic technology. The wooden body, carved from dense oak, provides the weight and momentum, but the genius lies in the blades. Obsidian, volcanic glass, is one of the sharpest substances on Earth. A freshly knapped obsidian blade has a cutting edge that is microscopically finer than a modern steel scalpel. It is, however, incredibly brittle. You couldn't make a long sword out of it. It would shatter on the first parry. The Aztecs solved this problem by embedding small, replaceable obsidian prisms, like razor blades, into grooves along the side of the club, securing them with a strong bitumen or resin. The result is a weapon that combines the crushing force of a mace with the terrifying cutting power of 1,000 razors. It doesn't slice cleanly like a steel sword. It rips and tears, inflicting horrific wounds. A warrior struck in the arm or leg would not just be cut, the limb would be nearly severed, a ghastly tangle of shredded muscle and shattered bone. This is why it was so effective for capturing people. A non-lethal blow could easily cripple an opponent, making them easy to subdue. Your defense is just as ingenious. You carry a shield, or chimali, a round buckler made of wood or woven reeds, often decorated with intricate and beautiful featherwork designs that denote your rank and lineage. But your main body armor is called the Ikakafupili. If you're picturing gleaming metal plate armor, think again. The Ikakwipili is a thick, padded vest made of densely woven cotton, sometimes stuffed with more cotton or other fibers. Before a battle, it was soaked in salt water and then allowed to dry, making it incredibly stiff and tough. To a Spanish conquistador in his steel cuirass, it must have looked primitive, almost laughable. They stopped laughing very quickly. This simple cotton armor was remarkably effective against the weapons it was designed to face. Arrows would get tangled in the dense fibers and fail to penetrate. The padded layers would absorb the impact of slingstones and the blows from clubs. Even the obsidian blades of an enemy's mekuatl would have a hard time cutting through the stiff, thick quilting. It was essentially the Aztec equivalent of a modern flak jacket. It was also brutally hot and uncomfortable to wear in the Mexican sun, but it was far lighter and more flexible than steel armor, allowing you the speed and agility you needed in a swirling melee. You might also carry an atlatl, a spear thrower. This simple device, essentially a grooved stick with a hook at the end, acts as a lever to dramatically increase the range and velocity of a light spear or dart. In the hands of a skilled warrior, an atlatl could hurl a dart with enough force to penetrate Spanish armor. It was a deadly projectile weapon, the Aztec equivalent of a rifle in terms of its ability to project force at a distance. So here you are, a Jaguar warrior at the height of your power. You have a home, land, status, and the respect of your emperor. You are clad in the skin of a predator, armed with weapons of terrifying efficiency. You are the tip of the spear of the most powerful empire Mesoamerica has ever known. But there is a shadow that hangs over this life, a constant awareness that frames every waking moment. It is the understanding of your place in the cosmos. You are not fighting for a king or a flag, or even for personal glory, though those things are part of it. At its core, your entire existence is dedicated to a single cosmic purpose, to keep the sun in the sky. The Aztec priests have taught you the stories, the sacred histories. You know that the world has been created and destroyed 4 times before. The first sun, 4 Jaguar, was destroyed by jaguars. The second, 4 wind, was destroyed by a great wind. The third, 4 rain, by a rain of fire. The fourth, 4 water, by a massive flood. You are living under the 5th sun, 4 movement, and its defining characteristic is that it is destined to be destroyed by earthquakes. It is an unstable creation, a temporary state of affairs. The gods sacrificed themselves to get it started, and now it is humanity's turn to pay that debt. The sun, Huitzilopochtli, is a warrior god. He was born fully grown and armed from the belly of his mother, the earth goddess Kotliku, and immediately had to slay his 400 brothers, the stars, and his sister, the moon goddess Coilxauhqui, who were trying to kill him. This is the battle he reenacts every single day. He rises in the east, journeys across the sky, and sinks in the west to fight the forces of darkness in the underworld all night, only to be reborn, hopefully, the next morning. It is a grueling, endless war, and he needs strength, he needs energy. That energy can only come from the most potent source of life in the universe, the human heart. This is why you fight. This is why you capture your enemies. The men you bring back to Tenochtitlan are not treated as criminals or slaves in the way we might think. They are, in a very real sense, honored guests. They are often treated well, given fine food and clothes. They are seen as representatives of their people, divine messengers who will soon be making the ultimate journey to the sun god. They are the living embodiments of the debt owed to the gods. When the day of their sacrifice comes, it is a massive public spectacle, the most important religious event in the calendar. The captive is painted and adorned with feathers. He is led up the impossibly steep steps of the Templo Maya. He is held down on the sacrificial stone by 4 priests. A 5th priest, wielding a flint knife, performs the ritual with practiced, terrifying speed. The chest is opened. The still beating heart is removed, and it is held up to the sun. It is placed in a quaxicali, an eagle vessel, a stone bowl designed to hold this sacred offering. The body is then rolled down the steps of the pyramid. To us, it is an act of unimaginable horror. To you, the Jaguar warrior standing guard at the base of the pyramid, it is an act of cosmic necessity. You are not witnessing a murder, you are witnessing a transfusion. You are watching the universe being refueled. You look at the heart steaming in the cool morning air, and you see the continuation of life. You see the promise of another sunrise, and you know with absolute certainty that this could be your fate as well. If you are ever captured in battle, you will be the one on the stone in Tlaxcala or Huexotzinco. And this is not a prospect that fills you with terror. It is, in fact, the second best option. The greatest glory is to die in the heat of battle, but to be sacrificed is also a good death. It also guarantees you a place in the warrior's paradise. Your concept of the afterlife is not one of eternal rest. It is one of eternal duty. If you die a glorious death, either in battle or on the stone, your soul will go to the Tunati or Iluikak, the heaven of the sun. For 4 years, you will join the souls of other fallen warriors. Your job will be to accompany the sun on its journey from sunrise to noon, shouting war cries, clashing your shields, giving him your strength. After 4 years, your soul will be reincarnated. You will return to the earth as a hummingbird or a butterfly, free to sip the nectar of flowers for eternity. Compare this to the fate of a common man who dies of old age or sickness. His soul must undertake a perilous multi-year journey through the 9 levels of the underworld, Mictlan, facing horrific trials along the way, only to eventually dissolve into nothingness. Your path is one of eternal glory. Death in your bed is the thing to be feared. Death in service to the sun is the ultimate promotion. This belief system is the engine that drives you. It is what allows you to charge into the chaos of battle without hesitation. It is what gives you the strength to wrestle a powerful enemy into submission. It is the foundation of your entire identity. You are not just a soldier in an army. You are a priest of a bloody and demanding faith. Your temple is the battlefield, and your sacrament is the capture of your fellow man. So let us imagine you now, in the evening, after a day of training or guard duty. You are in your quarters in the Kuaukali. The air is cool. The torches cast flickering shadows on the stone walls, carved with the symbols of your order. You can hear the distant sounds of the city settling down for the night, the call of a night watchman, the gentle music from a noble's house. The smell of copal incense hangs in the air, a constant reminder of the sacred. You are cleaning your makawikil, carefully checking each obsidian blade, replacing any that are chipped or broken. The weapon is an extension of your body, and you care for it meticulously. Perhaps you are looking at your Clowy Whistly, the Jaguar suit, draped over a stool. You see the patterns in the fur, the fierce glass eyes. It is a holy object, the source of your power and your identity. What do you think about in these quiet moments? Do you think of the boys you trained with, the ones who fell in their first battle? Do you think of the faces of the men you have captured, the terror in their eyes as you bound their hands? Do you feel pride, or is there a quiet, heavy sense of the enormous weight you carry? You are a pillar of your society. You are the protector of your people, but you are also a hunter of men, the provider for a pantheon of insatiable gods. Your life is one of great privilege, bought at a price of constant danger and ritualized violence. You live more comfortably than 99% of the people in your empire, but you can never truly be at ease. The sun is always watching, the gods are always hungry, and the promise of a flowery death, glorious as it is always just one battle away. You are a living paradox, a commoner who lives like a noble, a man of peace who is an expert in violence, a life-taker who is essential for the continuation of all life. You are a human being, with fears and hopes and loves, who has been shaped by an extraordinary culture into something more, and something terrifying. You are a predator, a hero, a priest, and a sacrifice waiting to happen. You are an Ocelot, a Jaguar warrior of the fifth sun, and as you lay your head down on your reed mat, you know that when the sun rises tomorrow, it will be, in part, because of you. And you know that it will demand the same price all over again. The work is never ever done. And as you contemplate that endless cycle, that immense and heavy duty, perhaps you can allow the weight of it all to just settle. Let the flickering torchlight in that distant warrior's hall begin to dim. Let the sounds of that ancient city on the lake fade into a gentle hum. There is nothing more for you to do tonight. No battles to fight, no gods to appease. You have heard the story. You have walked the path. Now it is time for rest. Let the quiet of the present moment envelop you, and allow yourself to drift, to float away into a deep and peaceful sleep. Chapter 2. The Flow of Empire. Your life as a Roman aqueduct engineer. And as you float, you might notice that gentle hum begins to change. The distant sound of drums on a lakeside city softens, deepens, and transforms into something else entirely. It becomes the low, steady murmur of a great metropolis, a city of stone and marble. The flickering torchlight gives way to the sharp, clear sun of the Italian peninsula, glinting off 1,000 rooftops. You are no longer drifting on a quiet lake, but on the relentless current of history, a current that is about to sweep you into the heart of an empire built not just on legions and laws, but on something far more fundamental, something you can see and hear and feel. Water. The quiet of the present moment has not left you. It has simply followed you here, to a comfortable, well-appointed room in a domus on the Esquiline Hill. The air is warm, but a gentle breeze stirs the linen curtains. Outside, the sounds of Rome are a constant, reassuring presence. The distant clatter of cartwheels on basalt paving stones, the calls of merchants, the laughter of children. It's all a world away from the grit and glory of the battlefield. Your battles are not fought with a sword and shield. Your enemies are far more subtle and far more stubborn. Your enemies are gravity, terrain, and human impatience. You are Lucius Aemilius Marsa, a liberator, an engineer, a water leveler. It's a title that sounds deceptively simple, but in your hands, and in the minds of men like you, rests the health, the growth, and the very definition of Roman civilization. You are a master of the invisible line, the gentle, almost imperceptible slope that allows life-giving water to defy mountains and valleys, to travel for miles with nothing more than its own patient desire to move downhill. For months, you have been in Rome. You've been enjoying the fruits of others' labour. You've attended the baths, marvelling at the sheer, glorious volume of water, hot, warm, and cold, that feeds them day and night. You've drunk clean water from public fountains, their marble faces spouting endless streams into stone basins. You've flushed your home's latrine with a casual flick of a lever, sending waste away into the Cloaca Maxima, that great ancient sewer. You take it for granted, as all Romans do. But you, unlike most, understand the monumental effort behind every single drop. You see the invisible aqueducts striding across the countryside in your mind's eye. You understand the mathematics, the back-breaking labour, the sheer audacity of it all. And you are becoming restless. The city is comfortable, but it is not a challenge. Your mind, trained to see the lay of the land, to calculate gradients to the inch over dozens of miles, is growing soft. The summons arrives on a morning like any other, a courier, breathless and officious, bearing a wax tablet sealed with the crest of the provincial governor of Hispania Tarraconensis, a man named Gaius Valerius Flaccus. He is back in Rome on senatorial business, and he requests, which of course means commands, your presence at his villa tomorrow. A frisson of excitement, mixed with a healthy dose of professional dread, runs through you. This is it. This isn't a repair job on the Anio Novus. This is a new project, a legacy. You spend the rest of the day preparing. You review your notes, your calculations, your copies of Vitruvius's De Architectura. You lay out your finest but most practical toga. This is not a social call. It is, in modern terms, a job interview and a project briefing rolled into one. The fate of your next 5, perhaps even 10 years, will be decided in that meeting. The governor's villa is an exercise in ostentatious power. Mosaics of mythological beasts writhe across the floors. Frescoes of his own supposed military victories adorn the walls. He receives you in his study, a room filled with Greek scrolls he has likely never read. Gaius Valerius Flaccus is a politician, not a statesman. He is large, florid, and possesses a handshake that feels more like an assertion of dominance than a greeting. He gets straight to the point. "Massa," he booms, gesturing to a large map of northern Spain spread across a table. "I have a town, Nova Castrum, a dusty little outpost with ambition. It's growing. It's a key stop on the trade route from the coast to the interior. It has a garrison of the 7th Legion. It has everything, in fact, except for one thing." He pauses for dramatic effect. You already know the answer. Water, he says, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Proper water, not just wells and cisterns that run dry every summer. I mean Roman water, constant, clean, the kind of water that says, civilization is here to stay, the kind of water that feeds baths, fountains, and a populace that will remember their benevolent governor for generations to come. Ah, there it is, the real reason. Not sanitation, not public health, but legacy. He wants his name carved into the dedication stone. Gaius Valerius Flaccus, benefactor, brought water to this city. You are to be the instrument of his immortality. It's a tale as old as Rome itself. You nod, your face a mask of professional seriousness. Your job is not to question the motive, but to execute the vision. He points to a spot on the map, a mountainous region some 20 miles from Novacastrum. Our surveyors have found a source, a series of springs, pure, they say. Your task, should you accept it, is to bring that water here. He traces a perfectly straight, entirely unrealistic line from the mountains to the town. Simple as that. You manage not to smile. Simple. There is nothing simple about it. Your mind is already racing, seeing the terrain not as a flat map, but as a three-dimensional nightmare of hills, ravines, soft soil, and solid rock. That straight line is a politician's fantasy. Your line, the real line, will be a living, breathing thing, a serpent of stone and mortar that will have to twist, turn, burrow, and leap to obey the one law that cannot be bent, the law of the gentle slope. You spend the next hour asking practical questions about the geology, the available legionary manpower for labour, the local sources of stone, sand, and lime. The governor answers with broad, dismissive waves of his hand. Details, trifles for you to handle. His job is to provide the vision, the funding, squeezed from the provincial budget, of course, and most importantly, the name for the dedication plaque. You leave the villa with a contract, a heavy purse for initial expenses, and a headache. The journey to Hispania will take weeks. You must assemble your team, a handful of trusted foremen and junior surveyors. You must arrange for the shipping of your most crucial instruments. The rest you will have to improvise when you arrive. As you walk back to your domus, the sounds of Rome seem different now. The gushing fountains are no longer just a pleasant background noise. They are a promise. They are the triumphant finish line of the marathon you are about to begin. Every splash is a reminder of the goal, the final, glorious sound of success. For now, there is only the vast, silent challenge of the land waiting for you, hundreds of miles away. The journey is an exercise in managed discomfort. First, a ship from Ostia packed with cargo and fellow travellers. The smell of the sea, the creak of the timbers, the monotonous diet of hardtack and dried fish. You spend your days on deck staring at the coastline, your mind already in the hills of Hispania. Then the overland trek, days upon days in a rocking cart on Roman roads, which, while the best in the world, are certainly not smooth. Dust is your constant companion. It coats your tongue, your clothes, your scrolls. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, you arrive at Novacastrum. It is exactly as the governor described it, a dusty, ambitious grid of streets, a half-finished forum, and the stern, imposing walls of a legionary fort. The air is dry, the sun relentless. The people move with a slow, deliberate pace, conserving energy. You can feel the thirst of the place in the very air you breathe. Your first task is not to build, but to walk, to see, to understand. You establish a base camp just outside the town, a collection of tents that will soon grow into a small village of its own. Then, with your core team and a military escort, you set out for the springs, the source. The mountains are beautiful and intimidating. The springs are just as the initial report said, clear, cold, and bubbling up from the earth with a steady, reliable flow. This is the easy part. The water is here. Now you simply have to get it to a town 20 miles away, a town that is only slightly lower in elevation. This is not a project of brute force, but of supreme, agonizing precision. You unpack your instruments. To a layman, they look like simple, almost crude pieces of wood and bronze. To you, they are instruments of creation, as vital as a sculptor's chisel or a painter's brush. First, the grommer, a simple-looking device, a vertical staff with a horizontal cross pivoted on top. From the end of each of the four arms hangs a plumb line. It is your primary tool for laying out straight lines and right angles. With the Grommer, you will establish the initial, impossibly optimistic straight path, the politician's line, that you will then spend months deviating from. Your assistants leapfrog across the landscape with sighting poles, and you, squinting against the sun, direct them with hand signals, establishing a baseline from which all other measurements will spring. But the true heart of the operation, the king of your toolkit, is the corrobotes. It is essentially a 20-foot-long wooden plank supported by 2 legs, with a water channel carved into its top surface. If the water rests evenly in the channel, the plank is level. For windy days, plumb lines on the sides offer a backup. It is a giant spirit level, a tool of excruciating accuracy and maddening sensitivity, and it is going to be your most intimate companion for the next year. The Great Survey begins. This is the intellectual soul of the entire endeavour. Forgetting to build a single arch is a setback. Miscalculating the gradient is a catastrophe. An aqueduct that is too steep will allow the water to rush, to scour and erode the waterproof lining of the channel, destroying itself from within. An aqueduct that is too shallow will become a stagnant, 20-mile-long pond, a breeding ground for filth and disease. The perfect gradient, as decreed by the master Vitruvius himself, is a drop of no less than 1 in 4,800, a tiny, almost imperceptible fall, about 1 foot of drop for every mile of distance. Your job is to impose that gentle, unwavering line onto a landscape that has no interest in cooperating. The work is slow, methodical, hypnotic. You and your team move across the rugged terrain like snails, set down the corrobates, adjust the legs until the water in the groove is perfectly still, have an assistant drive a stake into the ground, sight the next position, 100 feet away, pick up the corrobates, move, set it down again, adjust, level, stake, repeat, thousands upon thousands of times. You are not just measuring, you are reading the story of the land. You walk every inch of the proposed route. Your boots become worn, your skin burnished by the sun. You learn the feel of the earth beneath your feet, where the ground is soft and might subside, where it is solid rock that will need to be quarried. You are having a long, slow argument with the landscape. The hill in your path says, "You cannot path," says, you reply, "I will go around you," or "I will go through you." The valley says, "I am too wide to cross." You reply, "I will leap over you on legs of stone." Days blur into weeks, weeks into months. The sun beats down, the wind howls, rain turns your worksite into a muddy quagmire. You fill endless wax tablets with numbers, with sketches of the terrain, with notes on soil composition. At night, in your tent, by the light of a flickering oil lamp, you transfer these notes to expensive papyrus scrolls, creating the master plan. The map you are drawing is no politician's fantasy. It is a work of painstaking reality, a testament to the patient defeat of 1,000 small obstacles. During this time, your camp grows. The real workforce begins to arrive. A century of legionaries, their centurion a grim, practical man named Cassius, who sees this not as a glorious act of creation, but as just another deployment. The soldiers are not mere grunts. They are Rome's secret weapon. They are skilled surveyors, carpenters, masons, and above all, they are disciplined. They will form the backbone of your operation. Then come the slaves, hundreds of them, bought or leased from local markets. They are the muscle. Their lives are cheap, their labour endless. You see them not as men, but as a resource, a number in your calculations of how many cubic feet of earth can be moved in a day. It is the regrettable but necessary arithmetic of empire. Finally, you hire local labourers, men from the surrounding villages who are strong, know the land, and are desperate for work. They bring their own challenges, language barriers, local rivalries, a tendency to disappear during harvest time. Managing this tripartite workforce is a project in itself, a delicate dance of authority, intimidation, and pay. With the route finalized, the first great task begins, clearing the way. Legionaries and laborers, armed with axes and saws, fell trees. The sound of their work echoes through the valley, a percussive announcement that the landscape is about to be permanently altered. The path of the aqueduct, a wide, raw scar, is carved through forests and scrubland. Simultaneously, other teams are dispatched. One group goes to a nearby hillside you identified, to open a quarry. The crack of hammers on wedges, the groan of stone being split from the earth, becomes a new part of the local soundscape. Carts, pulled by straining oxen, begin to ferry thousands of tons of rough-hewn blocks to the construction sites. Another team builds kilns, great brick ovens to fire the clay for the millions of bricks and tiles that will be needed. A third group is tasked with finding and burning limestone to create cement, and sourcing the right kind of volcanic ash or crushed pottery, the pozzolana, that will give Roman concrete its legendary strength and ability to set underwater. It is a logistical ballet on a colossal scale. You are no longer just a surveyor, you are a quartermaster, a project manager, and a diplomat. Your days are spent riding on horseback between the quarry, the kilns, and the various points of construction along the 20-mile line. Your evenings are spent hunched over your tables, calculating payrolls, inventory, and work schedules. This is the medieval version of a spreadsheet, all done on wax tablets that can be erased and reused. Then you meet Quintus, the local contractor you hired to supply the lime. He is a man with a slippery smile and eyes that never quite meet yours. After a few weeks, your foreman, a grizzled old veteran named Marcus, comes to you. The concrete mix isn't right, he says. It's weak, it crumbles. You investigate. Quintus, to save money, has been cutting the pure lime with cheaper, impure marl. He is poisoning the very bones of your aqueduct. This is not a problem you can solve with a corrobates. This is a human problem. You can't simply fire him. His connections in Nova Castrum run deep, and you need the support of the local elite, so you handle it the Roman way. You write a carefully worded report to Governor Flaccus, currently residing in his provincial palace in Tarraco. You don't accuse Quintus directly. Instead, you express deep concern about the quality of local materials and how potential structural failures could unfortunately tarnish the legacy of our great governor's project. You mention that a full audit of all suppliers might be necessary, an audit that would undoubtedly uncover any discrepancies. You send the report by military courier. A week later, a panicked Quintus appears at your camp, bowing and scraping, promising the highest quality lime from this day forward. He even offers you a gift, a purse of silver, to forget the whole affair. You refuse the silver. Your own reputation must be spotless, but you accept his compliance. The problem is solved. The concrete will be strong. You have learned a valuable lesson. Building an aqueduct is only half about engineering. The other half is about politics. Now, the real construction begins. For the sections running across flat or gently sloping ground, the work is straightforward, if laborious. A deep trench is dug, a foundation of packed rubble and concrete is laid, and upon this the channel itself is built, 2 parallel walls of stone or brick, with a floor of concrete. It is built in sections, a slow, methodical assembly line of stone and mortar stretching across the countryside. But the land is rarely so cooperative. Soon you come to your first major obstacle, a hill of solid rock that stands directly in your path. Going around it would add miles to the route and disrupt your precious gradient. The only answer is to go through it. Tunneling. It is the most dangerous, claustrophobic and feared work on the project. The legionary engineers, using their centuries of experience in siege mining, take the lead. They are not just digging, they are performing surgery on the earth. A shaft is sunk from the top of the hill down to the required level, to provide ventilation and a way to remove rubble. Then teams begin to dig from both sides of the hill simultaneously. This is the ultimate test of your initial survey. If your calculations are off by even a fraction of a degree, the 2 tunnels will miss each other completely. A costly and humiliating failure buried inside a mountain. The work is brutal. Men work in tight, dark spaces, their world lit only by the smoky, flickering light of oil lamps. The air is thick with rock dust and the smell of sweat. The only sounds are the rhythmic clink, clink, clink of pickaxes against rock, and the dull thud of rubble being loaded into baskets. Progress is measured in inches per day. Cave-ins are a constant threat. You are there every day, checking the angles, the depth, the direction. You feel a knot of anxiety in your stomach for weeks. You have nightmares of the 2 teams digging past each other in the dark. Then, one afternoon, a cry goes up from inside the tunnel. A worker's pickaxe has broken through, not into open air, but into the empty space of the other tunnel. They have met. The connection is made. A cheer echoes out from the darkness. You feel a wave of relief so profound it almost brings you to your knees. The mountain has been conquered. But a far greater challenge lies ahead. A wide, deep valley that the politicians' finger on the map had so easily ignored. It is nearly half a mile across. The aqueduct cannot go around it. It cannot go through it. It must therefore go over it. You will build a bridge, a monument, an icon of Roman engineering that will stand for 1,000 years. The planning for the bridge is more intense than for any other part of the project. You design it in painstaking detail. The depth and size of the foundations needed to support the immense weight, the number and span of the arches, the elegant taper of the piers as they rise. First, the foundations. Massive excavations are made on the valley floor, down to bedrock. A forest of wooden scaffolding, a complex web of timber and rope, begins to rise from the ground, looking like the skeleton of some colossal beast. Masons balanced precariously on the scaffolding begin to shape and lay the massive stone blocks that form the piers. Each block is lifted into place using massive man-powered cranes, their wooden wheels groaning in protest. The most critical part is the construction of the arches. The arch is the genius of Roman building, a way to turn the vertical force of gravity into a horizontal force that locks the structure together. To build one, a temporary wooden framework, called a centring, is erected between two piers. The wedge-shaped stones of the arch, the voussoirs, are then laid upon this framework. Finally, the keystone is lowered into the very top. For a moment, it is just another stone. Then the wooden centering is carefully removed. There is always a collective intake of breath at this moment, a moment of truth. Gravity takes over, the forces redistribute through the stones, and the arch holds. It supports its own weight, and is now ready to support the weight of the structure above it. It has transformed a collection of loose stones into a single, incredibly strong, cohesive unit. You do this again and again, arch after arch, spanning the valley. Then you build a second tier of arches on top of the first, and a third on top of that, reaching ever higher, until your bridge stands level with the hills on either side. It takes over 2 years, 2 years of unceasing labour, of lives lost to accident and exhaustion, of battling summer heat and winter floods that threaten to wash away your foundations. But as you stand on the valley rim and look at the finished structure, a sublime rhythmic procession of arches marching across the landscape, you feel a sense of awe. You did not just build a bridge, you have imposed a piece of perfect rational geometry onto the wildness of nature. With the major obstacles overcome, the final phase begins. The entire 20-mile length of the channel, whether in a trench, through a tunnel, or atop the Great Bridge, must be made waterproof. This is done with a special mortar called opus signinum. It's a mixture of concrete and crushed terracotta tiles, which gives it a distinctive pinkish-red colour and excellent water-resistant properties. Specialist plasterers, slaves from Egypt and Syria who possess skills passed down through generations, are brought in. They line the entire interior of the water channel with multiple layers of this mortar. They trowel it on, smooth it, and burnish it until it is as sleek and seamless as polished stone. This is meticulous, almost artistic work. Any crack, any imperfection, could lead to a leak that over years could undermine the entire structure. While this is happening, the final pieces in the city are being put into place. A great distribution tank, the Castellum Aquea, has been built at the highest point of Nova Castrum, right where your aqueduct will terminate. It is a complex brick and concrete structure designed to hold a vast amount of water, and through a series of bronze pipes and gates, distribute it to the 3 main priorities of Roman life. First, to the public fountains, ensuring everyone has drinking water. Second, to the public baths for hygiene and recreation. And third, if there is any surplus, to private paying customers like wealthy homeowners. The governor, Valerius Flaccus, arrives for a tour of inspection. He strides along the top of the bridge, nodding sagely, pretending to understand the complexities of hydraulic engineering. He talks of his bridge, his tunnel, his aqueduct. You stand by, a silent professional cipher, letting him have his moment. Your name will not be on the dedication stone. No one will remember Lucius Aemilius Messer a century from now, but you know that every stone was placed, every angle calculated, because of you and your team. That is enough. Finally, after nearly 5 years, the day comes. The aqueduct is complete, the channel is sealed, the distribution tank is ready, The entire town of Nova Calstrom, it seems, has gathered to watch. The governor is there in his finest purple-bordered toga, ready to give a speech. Legionaries in polished armor line the route. But the real ceremony, the one that matters to you, is far more private. It is called the testudo, the testing. You travel with a small team back to the source, to the intake building you constructed over the springs all those years ago. Inside is a simple sluice gate, a bronze door holding back the water. Your senior foreman, Marcus, stands ready. You look at him, and he at you. No words are needed. This is the culmination of half a decade of your lives. You give a single sharp nod. Marcus and two other men turn the heavy cranks. With a deep groan, the bronze gate begins to rise. The water, which has been bubbling patiently in its basin for 5 years, hesitates for a moment, as if surprised by its new freedom. Then it surges forward into the dark mouth of the channel. The journey has begun. You do not stay to watch. You mount your horse and ride. You ride along the service path that runs the length of the aqueduct. You are following the water. You can hear it now, a low, gurgling whisper inside the stone channel, a sound no one has ever heard before. It is the sound of your creation coming to life. You ride past the trenches, across the land where you first walked with your corrobates. You ride into the darkness of the tunnel, your horse's hooves echoing, the sound of the flowing water beside you, a reassuring presence. You emerge into the light and gallop towards the great bridge. You rein in your horse in the middle of it. You can't see the water, but you can feel it, a subtle, deep vibration in the stone beneath you. The lifeblood of the city, flowing 60 feet above the valley floor, held aloft by your mathematics and the sweat of 1,000 men. You ride on, a race against the flow. You arrive at Nova Castrum well before the water does. The crowd in the forum is buzzing with anticipation. All eyes are on the main fountain, the Nymphaeum, a grand marble structure that has been dry for a year. You wait. The minutes stretch into an eternity. Doubts begin to creep into your mind. Did you miss a crack? Is there a leak? Did you miscalculate? And the water is now pooling uselessly in some low point miles away. The governor is beginning to look impatient. And then you hear it, a distant gurgling sound from the pipes leading from the Castellum Aquae. A few moments later, a dribble of water, dark with the dust of the pipes, sputters from the mouth of a marble sea god in the fountain. The crowd falls silent. The dribble becomes a trickle. The trickle becomes a steady stream. And then, with a great, joyous rush, a torrent of clear, clean, cold mountain water gushes forth, splashing into the basin, the sound echoing through the silent forum. A collective gasp, and then a roar from the crowd. Children shriek with delight and run into the spray. People cup their hands, drinking the fresh water, laughing. The governor begins his speech, but no one is listening. They are all mesmerized by the magic of the water, this endless, impossible gift. You do not stay for the celebrations. You slip away from the crowd and walk to the edge of the city, looking back towards the mountains. You can't see the aqueduct, not from here. It is already a part of the landscape, but you know it's there. A silent, steady servant, doing its job. You feel a profound sense of quiet, bone-deep satisfaction, a feeling of completion. The challenges have been met. The arguments with the landscape have been won. The flow has been established. There is nothing more for you to do. The immense weight of the project, a weight you have carried for 5 years, finally lifts from your shoulders. And perhaps now you can allow that feeling of completion to settle over you as well. Let the sound of that gushing fountain in a distant Roman town become a soft, gentle hum. Let the sharp edges of the day's worries dissolve. There are no more calculations to make, no more obstacles to overcome. The work is done. It is time for rest. Let the quiet, steady flow of your own breath be your aqueduct, carrying you away from the noise of the day towards the deep, peaceful reservoir of sleep. Chapter 3. The Ink of Eternity. Your life as a scribe in a medieval Irish monastery. Let the quiet, steady flow of your own breath be your aqueduct, carrying you away from the noise of the day towards the deep, peaceful reservoir of sleep. That flow of water, so constant and so vital, a testament to order and ingenuity. It carries life. It carries purpose. And now feel that current slow, the stone channels giving way to something else entirely. The water becomes darker, thicker. It is no longer water at all. It is ink, and it flows not through a channel of stone, but from the tip of a feather, held in a steady hand. We are leaving the relative bustle of the Roman world, leaving its organized clamor far behind. The air grows cooler, damper. You can taste salt on it, feel the mist clinging to your skin. The solid paved roads are gone, replaced by winding paths through green, impossibly green, hills. And the only sound is the wind, the distant cry of gulls, and the rhythmic wash of the sea against jagged cliffs. Our journey has taken us to the edge of the known world, to a small, wind-whipped island off the coast of 9th century Ireland. And here, in a small stone monastery, a different kind of engineering is taking place, an engineering of the soul, a preservation of knowledge against the encroaching dark. You are no longer a Roman architect, wrestling with gravity and stone. Your battle is with something far more fragile: memory, faith, and the patient, painstaking capture of words on a page. You are a scribe. Let's settle in here. The year is somewhere around 850 AD. The walls of your world are cold, damp stone. There is no grand forum, no bustling market. There is the chapel, the refectory for meals, the dormitory where you sleep, and the scriptorium, the writing house. This is the heart of the monastery, and the center of your universe. But you didn't just walk in and pick up a pen. Your journey here began years ago. Let's imagine you are Brother Kieran. You came to this place as a boy, perhaps an orphan, perhaps the youngest son of a local chieftain, given over to God as a kind of spiritual investment. Your first memories here are of cold, a deep, penetrating cold that seems to live in the very bones of the stone buildings. It's a constant companion, a presence you learn to accommodate, but never truly ignore. Forget about arguments over the thermostat. The main goal was simply not to wake up as a permanent part of the room's ice sculpture collection. Your clothes are a simple, rough-spun woolen habit. It's itchy, it's heavy, and when it gets wet, which is often, it smells faintly of damp sheep. But it is also your uniform, your identity. It marks you as one of the familiar, the family of God, set apart from the world. Your novitiate years were a blur of lessons and labor. Your mind had to be reshaped, retrained. You learnt the rule of St. Columba, a guide to monastic life that made no secret of its rigors. Silence was the default setting. You learned to communicate with a series of simple hand gestures, a hand to the ear for a question, a sweep of the hand to mean book. It's a quiet, contemplative existence, but don't mistake quiet for inactive. The monastery is a self-sufficient organism, and you had your chores, tending the vegetable garden, milking the lone cow, helping to churn the butter, mending the fishing nets. It was all part of the rhythm, the opus dei, the work of God. And the lessons, oh the lessons. You had to learn to read, of course, but not in your native Gaelic. You learnt Latin, the language of the church, the language of scripture. Your teacher, a stern elderly monk named Brother Ender with ink stains permanently etched into his fingers, would drill you for hours. Amo, amaz, amat. You'd trace the strange foreign letters on a wax tablet with a pointed stylus, scraping away your mistakes, the wax curling up in little grey shavings. The sound of that scraping, the smell of the beeswax, that was the scent of learning. It was slow, frustrating work, but bit by bit, the impenetrable wall of text in the old manuscripts began to resolve into words, into sentences, into stories. You learnt the Psalms by heart, chanting them over and over until the rhythm of the Latin became as natural as your own breathing. Your day is not measured by a clock on the wall. Clocks like that are a distant, futuristic dream. Your day is structured by the ringing of a single, heavy bronze bell. Its toll echoes across the small island, a constant reminder of your duty. It wakes you long before the sun even considers making an appearance. You stumble from your simple straw-filled mattress in the communal dormitory, the cold floor a shock to your bare feet. You join the procession of silent, hooded figures, making their way to the chapel for matins and lauds, the nighttime and pre-dawn prayers. The chapel is dark, lit only by a few flickering tallow candles that cast long, dancing shadows on the stone walls. The air is thick with the smell of old incense, damp wool, and unwashed brethren. You take your place in the choir stalls, and you sing. The plain song chant, a single melodic line sung in unison, fills the space. It's a sound that seems ancient, eternal. It's not a performance, it's a vibration. a communal meditation that you feel in your chest as much as you hear with your ears. You are a tiny part of a great collective voice, sending praise up into the cold darkness. This ritual, repeated 7 times a day, every day, is the scaffolding upon which your entire life is built. From prime at sunrise to terce, sext and none throughout the day, to vespers at sunset and compline before bed. It is a constant rhythmic turning towards the divine, and in the long, precious hours of daylight between those bells, you work as a novice. You were put to simpler tasks, but you showed an aptitude, you had a steady hand, you had patience, an almost inhuman capacity for sitting still and focusing on a single tiny detail. And so you were chosen to enter the scriptorium. The scriptorium is not a grand, airy library. It's a long, narrow room, usually on the 2nd floor to maximize the precious light and minimize the ever-present damp. The windows are small, perhaps covered with thinly scraped horn or oiled linen, which lets in a milky, translucent light, but no view of the outside world. There is a rule of absolute silence here. No talking, no whispering. The only sounds are the rustle of turning pages, the faint scratch of a quill on vellum, and the occasional deeply satisfying sigh of a brother finishing a particularly complex sentence. It is the quietest room in a very quiet place. It is a sanctuary of concentration. Your first task in the scriptorium is not to write, it's to prepare the materials. This is where you learn that creating a book is not an act of inspiration, but an act of intense physical labor. It begins with the skin of an animal. Vellum, the finest canvas for the Word of God, is made from calf skin. It's a messy, smelly, and laborious process. Imagine a young calf, one that was perhaps born on the monastery's own lands. After its death, its skin is taken. First, it's washed in a running stream for a day and a night, to clean it of dirt and blood. Then, it's soaked for days in a solution of lime and water. This is a caustic bath that loosens the hair and fat. You and another brother, using large, blunt-bladed knives, would then scrape the hide. The hair comes off in slimy clumps. The smell is potent. It's the smell of a tannery, sharp and unpleasant. You turn the skin over and scrape the flesh side, removing every last trace of fat and muscle. It's hard, repetitive work, your shoulders aching with the effort. After the scraping, the skin is soaked again in fresh water to remove the lime, and then it's stretched tightly. It's attached to a large wooden frame by cords, and you use small toggles to pull it taut as a drumhead. As it dries, it shrinks, creating a smooth, even surface. But it's not ready yet. While it's stretched on the frame, you take your lunellum, a crescent-shaped knife, and you begin to shave the surface, again and again. The goal is to get it to a uniform thickness, a surface so smooth it feels like ivory. Any mistake, any slip of the blade, can create a hole, ruining weeks of work. You learn to feel the thickness with your fingertips, to read the skin's landscape like a map. Finally, when it's perfectly smooth and dry, you take a powder, either chalk or pumice, and you rub it into the surface. This is called pouncing. It removes any lingering grease and gives the surface a fine tooth, a microscopic texture that will grip the ink and prevent it from bleeding. Only now, after all that work, do you have a single creamy white sheet of vellum. A large book, like the ones you dream of making, might require the skins of over 150 calves. It's a sobering thought, an entire herd of cattle transformed into a single vessel for the Word of God. The finished sheets are cut to size and stored flat, pressed under weights. When you run your hand over a finished piece, it's cool and smooth, almost alive. You can forget the smell and the slime and the labor. You can only see the potential. You see a blank space, waiting for eternity. But you can't write without a pen. And you don't just buy a pack of pens. You make them. You walk along the shoreline, searching for the right feathers, shed from a goose or a swan. The 5 outermost flight feathers from the left wing are the best, as they curve away from the hand of a right-handed scribe. You collect them, then you have to cure them. Then comes the part that requires real skill, cutting the nib. You need a small, incredibly sharp knife, a penknife in the most literal sense. You make a sloping cut to create the point, then a vertical slit up the middle to hold a reservoir of ink. Finally, you trim the very tip to the exact width you need for your script, a broader tip for large headings, a fine one for the main text. This isn't a one-time task. The quill wears down quickly. Throughout the day, you'll have to stop, take out your knife, and recut the point, sharpening your tool. The faint, whispery sound of a knife trimming a feather is a constant, subtle part of the scriptorium soundscape. And then, the ink. The standard ink for your work is iron gall ink. This, too, you must make. It's a form of basic chemistry, a recipe passed down through generations of scribes. You need oak galls, those strange round growths that form on oak trees when a wasp lays its eggs. You collect them, crush them into a powder, and soak them in water, or sometimes wine or beer. This releases tannic acid. Then you add ferrous sulfate, a mineral known as copperas or vitriol, which you might get from a trader or by distilling it yourself. When the iron in the vitriol reacts with the tannic acid from the oak galls, a chemical miracle occurs. It creates a dark, purplish-black liquid. You add a binder, usually gum arabic, the hardened sap of an acacia tree, which comes all the way from North Africa to give the ink body and help it adhere to the vellum. When you first write with it, the ink is a pale grey. It seems disappointingly faint, but as it dries, as it oxidizes on the page, it darkens to a rich, permanent black, a black that bites into the vellum, becoming part of it. It's called iron gall ink, because it literally galls or burns its way into the skin. This is the ink of eternity. It won't fade, it won't wash away. Thousands of years from now, your marks will still be there, a testament to this quiet, patient craft. So now you have it, the surface, the tool, and the medium. You, Brother Ciaran, are finally deemed ready. You are given your own carrel, a small wooden desk, angled to catch the light. You are assigned your first serious task to copy a page from the Gospels. The master scribe, the Armarius, lays the original manuscript before you. It is a thing of beauty, a treasure of the monastery. The vellum is like silk, the letters perfectly formed, the margins alive with intricate swirling designs. Your heart pounds. This is it. This is the work. First, you must prepare your page. You take your fresh sheet of vellum and you rule it, not with ink, but with a dry point, a sharp metal stylus, or a piece of lead. You use a ruler and a set square to create a grid of faint, almost invisible lines. A line for the top and bottom of each letter, vertical lines to mark the margins. This is the unseen framework, the hidden order that will ensure every line is straight, every letter perfectly spaced. The process is meditative. The faint scratching of the stylus is the only sound you make. You place your small horn of ink carefully beside you. You dip your freshly cut quill, not too deep, just enough to fill that tiny slit in the nib. You touch it to the vellum, at the top of the first column, and you form a letter. The script you are using is called Insula Majuscule. It is a beautiful, rounded, and demanding script. It's not like our quick, cursive handwriting. Each letter is a deliberate, composed act of draftsmanship. The pen is held at a specific angle. A downstroke is thick. A horizontal stroke is a thin hairline. A curve is a smooth, controlled movement of the entire arm, not just the wrist. You are not writing, you are drawing the shapes of words. In principio erat verbum, et verbum erat apud Deum. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. The work is incredibly slow. You might complete only a few lines in an hour. Your focus has to be absolute. A single moment of distraction, a tremor of the hand, a sneeze, and a letter could be malformed. A blot of ink could fall from your quill, ruining the entire page, wasting all those hours of labour, the life of the calf, the journey of the gum arabic from a distant desert. The pressure is immense. If you make a small mistake, you can sometimes take your knife and gently, so gently, scrape the ink off the surface of the vellum. But a large mistake is a disaster. Your body aches. You are hunched over your slanted desk for hours. Your back stiffens. Your neck develops a permanent crick. Your eyes, straining in the dim light, begin to burn. The fingers of your right hand are permanently cramped into a claw shape, stained black with ink. This is the physical price of the work. You are a conduit, and the divine word is flowing through you, but it exacts a toll on the vessel. You are not just a copyist, you are a guardian. You are preserving this text. The world outside these stone walls is a fragmented, often violent place. Kingdoms rise and fall, raiders come and go, but here, in this quiet room, you are forging a link in a chain that stretches back centuries. The book you are copying was itself copied from an older book, which was copied from one older still, all the way back to the source, you are ensuring that it will not be lost. It's a profound responsibility. Sometimes, at the end of a manuscript, a scribe would add a little personal note, a colophon. They often complain about the work. The writing is finished. For the love of God, give me a drink. Or, as the traveller rejoices to see his native land, so the scribe rejoices to see the end of his book. These small human touches are a reminder that these weren't saints floating on clouds of piety. They were men, doing a difficult, often tedious job. And then there is the illumination. This is the work of the master scribes, the artists. This is what transforms a book from a mere text into a treasure. While you are patiently copying the text, in another corner of the scriptorium, a master illuminator is working on a title page, a carpet page, or a great initial. This is where the Irish monastic tradition truly shines. It is art of staggering complexity and beauty. The illuminator works not just with black ink, but with a whole palette of vibrant colours. And just like the ink, these pigments have to be made by hand. They were the original in-app purchases, incredibly expensive and sourced from a surprisingly global network. That brilliant sky blue, that's made from lapis lazuli, a semi-precious stone mined only in one specific region of what is now Afghanistan. It had to travel thousands of miles along the Silk Road, by camel and by boat, passed from trader to trader, to eventually end up as a small priceless rock in your remote Irish monastery. To make the paint, you would have to grind it into a fine powder, a process that could take days, and then mix it with a binder, usually egg white, to make tempera paint. That vibrant red, it might come from kermes, a tiny scale insect that lives on oak trees in the Mediterranean. Thousands of dried insects, crushed to create a tiny amount of brilliant crimson dye. Or it could be red lead, a mineral pigment. A bright sunny yellow could come from orpiment, a mineral that contains arsenic. It was beautiful, but highly poisonous. You learned quickly not to lick your brush to get a finer point when working with the yellow. The rich green was made from malachite, the purple from a plant called folium. Each colour had a story, a journey. The next time you get frustrated because your printer is out of cyan, spare a thought for Brother Alton, who's been waiting 9 months for a trader to arrive with a new shipment of blue rock from the other side of the world. The designs themselves are a kind of visual prayer, intricate, interweaving knotwork, called interlace, that seems to have no beginning and no end, symbolizing eternity, spirals that coil and uncoil, full of energy, and the zoomorphics, animals, fantastically elongated and contorted, woven into the patterns. A dog might chase a rabbit through the capital letter T. A bird's beak might form the hook of a G. Sometimes there are little hidden jokes in the margins. A cat chasing a mouse. A small doodle of a fellow monk. To look at a page from a book like the Book of Kells, which was likely being created around this time, is to be overwhelmed by the detail. In a space no bigger than your thumbnail, there might be dozens of interlocking spirals perfectly rendered. The work required not just a steady hand, but a kind of meditative genius. The artist would have to plan the entire design in advance, tracing it out with a dry point, before applying a single drop of precious colour. It was an act of faith, a belief that such beauty, offered up to God, was a worthy life's work. It was a way of making the holy word physically glorious, of clothing the Gospels in a beauty that reflected their divine message. And what of your life outside the scriptorium? The bell rings for sext, the midday prayer, and you down your tools. You file out with the other brothers to the refectory. The meal is simple, and eaten in silence. There is no idle chatter. One brother stands at a lectern, and reads from the lives of the saints while you eat. The food is what you grow, or what you can catch. A thick pottage of vegetables and grains, sometimes with a little fish if the catch was good. Dark, heavy bread. Water, or, if you're lucky, a small amount of weak ale. The diet was designed for spiritual purity, not for winning any culinary awards. It's enough to sustain you for the afternoon's work. You return to your desk. The light is starting to fade. The afternoon sun, when it appears from behind the ever-present clouds, slants through the small window, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. You pick up your quill and continue. Et Deus erat verbum, and the word was God. There is a sense of community here, but it's a quiet one. Your friendships are forged not in conversation but in shared labour, in the rhythm of the chants, in the subtle nod of acknowledgement as you pass in the cloister. You know the particular way Brother Finian clears his throat before he starts a difficult passage, the quiet determination of old Brother Ender as he grinds pigments, his hands stained a rainbow of colours. You are all cogs in a great, sacred machine. But this peaceful, ordered world is a fragile one, and you are all acutely aware of the threat that lies just over the horizon. The Northmen, the Vikings. For decades now, their longships have been raiding the coasts of Ireland. They are pagans, fierce warriors who see monasteries not as houses of God, but as treasure chests, full of silver chalices, golden reliquaries, and wealthy defenceless monks to be captured for ransom or enslaved. Word travels. You hear stories from mainland monasteries that have been sacked, monks slaughtered, buildings burned to the ground, and the books, the precious, irreplaceable books, hacked to pieces for the jewels on their covers, or simply tossed into the sea. The thought is a cold knot of dread in your stomach. Everything you are doing, this painstaking, multi-generational effort to preserve knowledge and create beauty, could be undone in a single terrifying afternoon by a band of axe-wielding raiders. This fear shapes your existence. It adds an urgency, a sacred desperation to your work. You are not just making a book. You are in a race against chaos. You are building a lifeboat for the soul of your civilization. The monastery itself has defences. It's surrounded by a high stone wall. There is a tall, round tower with its entrance high off the ground, accessible only by a ladder that can be pulled up from within. In case of an attack, the protocol is clear. The first priority is to save the books and the sacred relics. The bell would ring in a frantic, alarming peal, and you would grab the unfinished manuscript you're working on, the chest of pigments, the most valuable finished Gospels, and you would scramble into the dark, cramped safety of the round tower to wait out the storm of violence. So as you sit there, carefully forming the letters, part of your mind is always listening for a shout from the watchman, listening for the panicked ringing of the bell. The wind howls outside, and for a moment you imagine it's the sound of screaming. The sea crashes against the rocks, and you think of the prow of a longship, its dragon head snarling as it cuts through the waves. The fear is real. It makes your hand tremble. You set down your quill, close your eyes and whisper a prayer. You take a slow, deep breath, and you pick it up again. You have to trust in God, and you have to keep working. The work is its own prayer, its own act of defiance against the chaos. The light is almost gone now. The bell rings for Vespers, the evening prayer. You carefully clean your quill, cap your inkhorn, and cover your precious page with a soft cloth. In the chapel, the candlelight is a warm comfort against the gathering dusk. The familiar chants soothe your frayed nerves. After prayers, there is another simple meal, and then a final gathering for Compline, the last service of the day. The abbot, the spiritual father of your community, gives his blessing. May the Lord grant us a quiet night and a perfect end. You return to the dormitory. It's a long, dark room filled with the sounds of other men breathing, coughing, and turning on their straw mattresses. Privacy is a concept that hasn't been invented yet, or at least hasn't made it to this part of the world. You lie down, pulling your rough wool blanket up to your chin. Your body is tired, your eyes ache, your fingers are stiff, but your mind is full. You see the shapes of the letters you formed today, the graceful curve of an S, the strong vertical of a B. You think about the page you are working on, the story of the loaves and fishes. You see the deep blue you will use for Mary's robe, the flash of gold leaf you might be allowed to apply to the halo of Christ. The wind rattles the timbers of the roof, the sea sighs on the shore. These are the sounds of your world. It is a small world, a hard world, a world of cold stone and itchy wool and endless patient work. But it is a world with a profound and unshakable purpose. You are a link in a chain. You are a keeper of the flame. In the vast encroaching darkness, you are a tiny flickering point of light, carefully, painstakingly, tending to the ink of eternity. And as you close your eyes, you feel a deep, quiet sense of peace. The work is safe, the book is safe, for another night, and you can allow yourself to drift away, carried on the gentle tide of the plain-song chant that still echoes in your mind, into the silent, waiting reservoir of sleep. Chapter 4. A world of dust and silk. Your life as a spice merchant on the Silk Road. That gentle tide of the plain-song chant begins to fade, not abruptly, but like a sound receding down a long stone corridor. The single flickering point of light, the candlelight on the vellum, softens, blurs, and dissolves. The darkness behind your eyes is no longer the cool, damp dark of a scriptorium, but something warmer, drier, and the silence is different too. It's not an absence of sound, but a low, vast hum, the sound of 1,000 heartbeats, a city breathing in its sleep, slowly, gently. The first hint of light is no longer a candle, but a pale, dusty rose bleeding across a horizon impossibly vast. You are no longer tending to the ink of eternity. You are about to become a purveyor of the fragrant, the precious, the stuff of dreams. Your new world smells of cinnamon, sand, and camel. You awaken not to a bell, but to the call of the muezzin, a sound that stretches and coils through the cool morning air of Samarkand. It's a sound that doesn't so much jolt you awake as it invites you to rejoin the living world. The air in your small room, tucked away in a caravanserai, is still cool. You can taste the dust on your tongue. It's a permanent resident here, a fine, silty powder that coats everything. This is the taste of Central Asia. This is the taste of wealth, of distance, of immense back-breaking effort. Today is the day, or rather, today is another day, in a long series of days that all lead up to the day the caravan departs. Leaving Samarkand is not like deciding to take a weekend trip. It is a monumental undertaking, a slow-moving, complicated dance of logistics, negotiation, and pure, unadulterated hope. You are a merchant, a Sogdian merchant to be precise, part of a people who for centuries have been the lifeblood of this great artery of trade. Your people don't have an empire of armies, but an empire of roots, an empire of trust and goods that stretches from the edges of China to the shores of the Mediterranean. You swing your legs off your sleeping mat. The floor is cool, packed earth covered with a worn but beautiful rug. You dress not in armor or robes, but in practical layers. A loose cotton tunic, sturdy trousers, and soft leather boots that have already molded themselves to the shape of your feet. Everything you own is built for durability, for the long, slow grind of the journey ahead. Your first task of the day is coffee, not the sweet, frothy concoctions of a modern cafe, but a thick, potent brew, dark and bitter, boiled in a small pot over a charcoal brazier. It's grainy at the bottom, and you drink it slowly, letting the heat seep into your bones and the caffeine gently nudge your mind into focus. As you sip, you look out the small, arched window of your room. Below you, the caravanserai is already stirring. It's a city within a city, a great square courtyard surrounded by arches and rooms, built to house merchants, their animals, and their goods. It's a combination hotel, warehouse, and high-security storage facility. The air is filled with the sound of camels groaning in complaint, the sharp words of cameleers, the clatter of pots and pans, and the low murmur of a dozen different languages. You hear Persian, Turkic dialects, a smattering of Chinese from a delegation in the corner, maybe even a trader from the far-off lands of the Rus. This courtyard is the physical embodiment of the Silk Road, a messy, loud, and incredibly vital crossroads of humanity. After your coffee, you head down into that controlled chaos. Your first meeting is with yourself, or rather, with your assets. You walk to the secure storeroom where your goods are kept under lock and key, a hefty lock that you paid a good price for. You unlock the door, and the scent that rolls out is intoxicating. It's a wave of warm, spicy, and deeply exotic aromas that speaks of distant islands, tropical forests, and immense value. This is your investment. This is your future, your children's future. You run your hands through a sack of peppercorns from the Malabar coast of India. They are small, dark, and wrinkled. You crush one between your fingers, bringing the sharp, pungent scent to your nose. You're checking for damp, for mold, for any sign of poor quality. These little black spheres are, ounce for ounce, more valuable than silver. They will be used in Europe to preserve meat, yes, but more importantly, to signal wealth, to make the bland fare of a feudal lord taste of something other than salt and desperation. You are not just selling a spice, you are selling status. Next, the cloves, tiny, dried flower buds from the Maluku Islands, the Spice Islands, a place most of your customers could not even imagine. They have a sweet, almost medicinal warmth. You check them for plumpness and a good oily feel. Brittle, dusty cloves won't fetch a good price in Damascus or Antioch. Then there's the nutmeg and mace, two different spices from the same fruit, smelling of warmth and holidays that haven't even been invented yet. And then, a crown jewel. In a small, carefully wrapped bundle is the saffron, delicate, deep red threads, the stigma of a particular crocus flower. It takes thousands upon thousands of these tiny threads to make even a small amount. Its value is astronomical. You handle it with the care of a jeweler handling diamonds. You are not just a merchant, you are a guardian of precious things. The journey ahead is a 9-month-long, 2,000-mile-long armored car transit. Your inspection is a ritual. You are a professional. You know that a single damp sack can rot from the inside out, turning a fortune into a pile of worthless mold. You know that a dishonest supplier might have mixed in pebbles with the peppercorns to add weight. You trust, but you verify. Always. It's the first rule of the road. Satisfied with your inventory, you move on to the next phase of your morning. Logistics. This is where the real work lies. The romance of the Silk Road is for poets. The reality is for project managers. You need to pack all of this, your entire net worth, in a way that it can survive months of being jostled on the back of a camel, through scorching days and freezing nights. The spices are packed into smaller leather or cloth bags, which are then placed inside larger, tougher sacks. The most precious items, like the saffron and perhaps some finely woven silk you acquired, will be packed in wooden chests lined with waxed cloth to keep out the ever-present dust and the possibility of a sudden downpour. You also have amphorae, large clay jars filled with valuable oils or wine, each one carefully cushioned with straw. Packing is a science. Weight distribution is everything. An improperly loaded camel is an unhappy camel, and an unhappy camel is a liability. They can throw their load, injure themselves, or simply refuse to move. Your cameleers are the experts here, but you oversee the process. You are the CEO of this tiny mobile company, and you are accountable for every decision. You watch as the heavy sacks are balanced, two massive panniers connected by straps that will go over the camel's hump. Every knot is checked, every strap is tested. It's a slow, deliberate process that can take days. While the packing is underway, you turn your attention to the most complex part of your operation, the people. You cannot cross the Taklamakan Desert alone. You are just one small part of a larger organism, the caravan. First, you need cameleers. You are not hiring amateurs. You are seeking out the seasoned professionals, the men whose faces are maps of the lands you will cross, their skin tanned to the texture of leather by decades of sun and wind. You find them not in a formal office, but by reputation, through conversations over endless cups of tea in the shaded corners of the caravanserai. You approach a man named Alton. He is a Uyghur, his eyes narrowed against a lifetime of sun and dust. He doesn't say much, which is a good sign. The ones who talk too much are usually compensating for a lack of experience. You sit with him, sharing tea. You don't jump into business. You ask about his family, about the last journey. You listen to the quiet rhythm of his speech. He, in turn, is assessing you. Is this merchant's venture sound? Is he reckless? Does he pay on time? This is an interview, conducted not with questions and answers, but with shared silence and subtle observations. He knows the camels like they are his own children. He can read their moods, diagnose their illnesses, and coax them across landscapes that would kill a lesser man. He knows where the hidden wells are, the ones not marked on any map. He can smell a sandstorm an hour before it hits. His knowledge is worth more than any spice you carry. You negotiate a price, a combination of a fixed fee and a share of the profits upon successful arrival. It's a partnership. You are the capital. He is the expertise. You shake hands. The deal is done. He will assemble his team. Next on the HR list, security. The Silk Road is not a well-lit, police-patrolled highway. It is a vast, empty wilderness punctuated by pockets of civilization. And where there is immense wealth moving slowly through immense emptiness, there are those who would seek to take it. Bandits are a constant threat. They are not mindless thugs. They are often desperate men, organized and knowledgeable about the routes. So, you need mercenaries. You look for a man who commands a small troop of guards. Again, reputation is everything. You seek out a Sogdian ex-soldier named Farrokh. He is a bull of a man, with a quiet confidence that is far more intimidating than any boast. His men are disciplined. They don't drink to excess. Their weapons are well maintained. Sturdy bows, sharp swords and long spears. You meet with him and lay out your proposed route. He points to a map drawn on a piece of hide. "This pass," he says, his finger tracing a line through a set of mountains, "is trouble. We will need to post lookouts 2 hours ahead of the main column." He is not just a hired sword, he is a security consultant. You are paying for his experience in risk mitigation. You agree on the terms. His men will ride at the front, the rear, and on the flanks of the caravan. They will stand watch through the night. Their presence alone is a deterrent, a clear signal that this is not an easy target. The final piece of the puzzle is alliance building. Your small operation, perhaps a dozen camels, your cameleers and your guards, is still vulnerable. The real safety of the Silk Road comes from numbers. You spend your afternoons and evenings speaking with other merchants in the caravanserai. There is a Persian trader carrying magnificent carpets, rolled into great heavy tubes. There is a family of Nestorian Christians with a cargo of fine glassware. There is a quiet man from Bukhara who deals in paper, a technology still new and wondrous to the West. You are all competitors in a sense, but out there, in the desert, you are colleagues. You are a community of necessity. You agree to travel together. Your individual groups will merge into a great, slow-moving river of commerce, a caravan of 100, 200, sometimes even 500 camels. The security costs are shared. The knowledge is pooled. The Persian knows the best places to graze the animals. The Bukharan has a cousin in the oasis city of Merv who can guarantee fair prices for water. Your man Alton knows the temperament of the desert winds. Together, you are stronger, safer, and more likely to see the other side. This is the careful, patient work of a merchant. It is days and weeks of planning before a single step of the journey is taken. Forget the romantic image of a lone figure on a camel silhouetted against the sunset. The reality is a feat of corporate planning, human resource management, and strategic alliances, all conducted without spreadsheets or conference calls, but through a web of personal trust, reputation, and endless cups of tea. Finally, the day arrives. A cool, clear morning. The air is electric with anticipation. The great gates of the caravanserai are thrown open. The caravan begins to assemble in the dusty streets outside the city walls. It is an awesome sight. A river of camels, horses, donkeys, and men, stretching for nearly a mile. The noise is a symphony of controlled chaos. The bellowing of camels, the sharp commands of the cameleers, the jingle of harnesses, the creak of leather and wood, the nervous chatter of merchants. The smell is overwhelming, a heady mix of animal dung, sweat, leather, dust, and the faint, tantalizing scent of the spices packed away in the swaying cargo. You find your place in the column. You are not at the head. That is for the caravan master, an elected leader for the journey. You are not at the back. That is where the dust is thickest. You find your small section, your dozen camels, your team. You mount your own camel. It's not a graceful process. The animal is kneeling, grumbling a deep guttural complaint. You throw your leg over, settle into the wooden saddle, and hold on tight. With a lurch that feels like a small earthquake, the beast unfolds its long legs and rises, lifting you 10 feet into the air. From this vantage point, you can see everything. The magnificent turquoise domes of Samarkand behind you, glittering in the morning sun. Ahead of you, the endless dusty track disappearing into a hazy pale horizon. There is a shout from the front of the column, a signal, a horn blows, and with a slow, grinding momentum, the great beast of the caravan begins to move. The first few hours are a slow crawl away from the familiar. The sounds of the city fade, replaced by the rhythmic plodding of hundreds of soft, padded feet on the dusty earth. It's a surprisingly quiet sound, a soft, shuffling percussion that will become the soundtrack to your life for the next several months. Plod, plod, creak, jingle, plod. It's a hypnotic rhythm, a beat that measures not minutes or hours, but miles. Your world shrinks to the immediate. The back of the camel in front of you, the vast blue sky above, the feel of the sun on your neck, the constant gentle sway of your mount. It's a motion that takes getting used to, a side-to-side roll that feels like being on a small boat in a calm sea. Many first-time travelers are overcome with a kind of seasickness, but you are used to it. You let your body move with the animal, becoming one with its rhythm. The day unfolds in a structured, unvarying routine. This routine is not a matter of convenience, it is a matter of survival. You rise before the sun, when the air is still bitingly cold. You force down a simple breakfast, some flatbread, a handful of dates, a sip of water. Water is not to be drunk casually. It is rationed, measured, and guarded. Every drop is precious. The camels are loaded in the pre-dawn gloom, their grumbles of protest a familiar morning chorus. By the time the sun's first rays hit the landscape, the caravan is already moving, taking advantage of the cool morning hours. You travel for 4 or 5 hours, the sun climbing higher in the sky, beating down with an intensity that bleaches the colour from the world. The landscape is a study in beige and brown. The heat becomes a physical presence, a weight on your shoulders. The air shimmers. Mirages dance on the horizon, promising water and shade where there is only more sand and rock. Your cameleers are not fooled. They have seen these ghosts before. Around midday, when the sun is at its most brutal, the caravan halts. This is not a leisurely lunch break. It is a strategic retreat from an enemy you cannot fight. The heat. The camels are made to kneel. Tents are hastily erected, creating small pools of shade. You huddle in the stifling air, trying to escape the direct assault of the sun. You eat again. Another simple meal. Perhaps some dried meat, hard as a rock, which you chew on for a long time. You drink a little more water. You speak very little. Conserving energy is paramount. The desert punishes wastefulness. As the afternoon sun begins to dip, losing its fiercest edge, the camp is broken down with practiced efficiency. The tents are folded, the camels are reloaded, and the journey resumes. You walk for another 4 or 5 hours into the evening. This is often the most pleasant part of the day. The light turns golden, then soft purple. The shadows of the camels stretch out before you, long dancing figures on the sand. The air begins to cool, a blessed relief. As darkness falls, the caravan master seeks out a suitable place to make camp for the night. It needs to be a defensible position, perhaps in the lee of a rocky outcropping, and ideally near some source of scrub for the camels to graze on. The moment the halt is called, the caravan transforms from a moving column into a small temporary town. The camels are unloaded and hobbled to prevent them from wandering off. Small campfires are lit, tiny pinpricks of light in the immense encroaching darkness. The fires serve many purposes. They provide warmth against the surprising chill of the desert night. They cook the evening meal, and they are a focal point, a centre for the transient community that forms each evening. You gather around a fire with your team and perhaps the merchants you've befriended. The evening meal is the main meal of the day, a simple stew perhaps, of lentils and dried vegetables, cooked in a single pot. The flatbread is warmed by the fire. The smell of cooking food is a comfort, a reminder of civilization in the heart of the wilderness. This is the time for talk, but it is not idle chatter. It is the caravan's daily debriefing. News is exchanged. The guards report on any tracks they saw during the day. The cameleers discuss the health of the animals. Merchants share information gathered from other travelers going the opposite way. Where is the next good well? Are there rumors of bandit activity near the Oxus River? Is the market in Merv paying well for silk this season? This campfire is your newsroom, your stock exchange, and your security briefing all in one. You listen to the stories of the old hands, stories of sandstorms that came out of nowhere, burying entire sections of a caravan, stories of legendary bandits and the clever merchants who outwitted them, stories of ghosts and jinn that haunt certain parts of the desert. These stories are more than entertainment. They are oral textbooks on survival, filled with warnings, advice, and precedents. As the night deepens, the conversations die down, the stars come out, and the stars, you have never seen stars like this. With no city lights to wash them out, the sky is a breathtaking canopy of brilliant, glittering diamonds, splashed across a backdrop of the deepest velvet black. The Milky Way is not a faint haze. It is a thick, glowing river of light. You learn to read these stars. They are your map and your clock. Your cameleers can navigate by them with an accuracy that seems like magic. They point out the constellations that guide your way west. The stars are a constant, a comfort, a reminder that even in this vast, disorienting emptiness, there is order and direction. Before you sleep, you perform one final ritual. You check on your animals. You walk over to where your camels are resting, chewing their cud with a look of supreme indifference. You run a hand over their coarse fur, check their feet for cuts, their packs for any rubbing sores. These animals are your business partners. Their health is your wealth. Their survival is your survival. They are stubborn, ill-tempered, and occasionally smell appalling, but they are miracles of evolution, perfectly adapted to this brutal world. They are, in a very real sense, your best friends out here. You return to your small patch of ground near the fire. You don't have a tent, just a thick woolen blanket and a saddle for a pillow. You wrap yourself up tightly. The fire has burned down to glowing embers. The guards are walking the perimeter, their dark shapes moving silently against the starlit horizon. The only sounds are the soft shuffling of the animals, the whisper of the wind, and the impossibly distant howl of a jackal. You lie on your back, looking up at the wheel of the stars. You think about the saffron nestled deep in its wooden chest. You think about the family you left behind in Samarkand, and the profits you hope to bring back to them. You think about the immense crushing scale of the world. You are a tiny speck of life, a fragile caravan crawling across the face of a vast and indifferent planet. But you are not alone. You are part of this moving community, this thread of human connection stretching across the empty spaces. And as you close your eyes, the gentle swaying motion of the camel seems to linger in your body. You feel the rhythm of the journey in your bones. Plod, plod, plod. It is a slow, steady, reassuring beat, and you let it carry you down into the deep, dreamless sleep of the truly exhausted. Days bleed into weeks. The landscape changes, but the routine remains the same. You cross vast, flat plains of cracked earth. You navigate through winding canyons where the midday sun barely reaches the floor. You skirt the edges of shimmering salt flats that stretch to the horizon like frozen lakes. The challenges are constant. One day, a sandstorm descends. It is not a gentle breeze. It is a terrifying, moving wall of sand that turns the sky a sickly yellow-orange. The world disappears. Visibility drops to a few feet. The wind howls like a demon, and the sand scours every exposed surface. There is no outrunning it. The caravan master gives the signal to halt. The camels are forced to their knees, their heads low to the ground. You and the other men huddle on the leeward side of the animals, pulling your headscarves tight across your face, leaving only a tiny slit for your eyes. You can do nothing but wait. It is a lesson in humility, a powerful reminder of your utter insignificance in the face of nature's power. The storm can last for hours, or it can last for days. You simply endure. When it finally passes, everything you, the animals, the cargo, is covered in a thick layer of fine sand. It is in your clothes, your hair, your food, your water. For the next week you will feel its grip between your teeth. Another time, a camel falls ill. The caravan halts. Alton, your head cameleer, is like a country doctor, examining the animal with a gentle, knowing touch. He produces a pouch of herbs and concoctions, forcing a vile-smelling paste down the camel's throat. The entire caravan waits. An animal is too valuable an asset to leave behind. For a day, its fate is uncertain. The merchant who owns it is a knot of anxiety. If the camel dies, he must either abandon a portion of his cargo or try to overload his other animals, risking their health as well. Thankfully, Alton's medicine works. The next morning, the camel is on its feet, looking as grumpy as ever, and the journey resumes. And then there is the constant, low-level threat of bandits. Your guards are ever vigilant. One evening, a scout rides in hard, reporting a group of men shadowing the caravan from a distant ridge. The camp that night is tense. The fires are kept small. The guards double the watch. You sleep with a knife by your side. You are a merchant, not a warrior, but you will defend your property. The night passes without incident. The bandits, seeing the size of your caravan and the professionalism of your guards, likely decided to seek easier prey. The threat recedes, but the memory lingers, a reminder of the thin line between profit and disaster. But the journey is not all hardship. There are moments of profound beauty and connection. You witness sunrises that set the entire sky ablaze with colour. You share jokes around the campfire, laughter that transcends the barriers of language. You learn a few words of your Persian friend's language. He learns a few of yours. You develop a deep, unspoken respect for the cameleers, whose quiet competence keeps you all alive. And then, after weeks in the wilderness, you see it on the horizon, a smudge of green, a cluster of buildings, an oasis city, Merov perhaps, or Bukhara. The effect on the caravan's morale is instantaneous. The pace quickens. the tired plodding becomes a more purposeful stride. The arrival at an oasis city is a shock to the senses. After the silence and monochrome palette of the desert, the city is an explosion of noise, colour, and life. The scent of wood smoke, cooking food, and humanity. The sound of merchants hawking their wares, children laughing, and blacksmiths' hammers ringing. The sight of green trees, flowing water in irrigation channels, and brightly coloured textiles. You guide your section of the caravan to another great caravanserai, a carbon copy of the one you left in Samarkand. The animals are unloaded, their groans a mixture of relief and protest. They are fed and watered, a long luxurious drink from a stone trough. For you, the city is a chance to reset. The first thing you do is seek out a bathhouse. The feeling of soaking in hot, clean water, of scrubbing away weeks of accumulated grime and dust, is a pleasure so profound it feels almost spiritual. You put on a clean set of clothes. You feel like a new person. Then business. You don't sell your main cargo here. These cities are middlemen. The real profits lie further west, but you do engage in trade. You sell some of the smaller goods you brought specifically for this purpose. Trinkets, textiles, or perhaps a small amount of a less valuable spice. With the money, you buy supplies for the next leg of the journey. Fresh dates, grain for the animals, new water skins to replace the ones that have worn out. The oasis city is also an information hub. You spend your evenings in tea houses, listening. What is the political situation in the lands ahead? Is the new Seljuk governor favourable to merchants? Are the tolls fair? You are gathering intelligence, constantly updating your mental map of the risks and opportunities that lie ahead. After a week or two of rest, recuperation and resupply, the process begins again. The goods are checked and repacked. Alliances are confirmed. The caravan reassembles, its numbers perhaps swollen by other merchants who were waiting for a large enough group to travel with. And one morning, you are back on your camel, looking at the city gates from the other side, heading once more into the vast, silent emptiness. This is your life, a repeating cycle of departure, journey, arrival, and departure again. A life lived between worlds, belonging fully to none of them. You are not quite a citizen of Samarkand, for you are gone more than you are there. You are not a creature of the desert, for you only pass through it. You are a man of the road, your identity defined by motion, your character forged by hardship, your fortune built one slow, plodding step at a time. You cross rivers on rickety barges, you navigate high mountain passes where the air is thin and cold, and the snow lingers even in summer. You pass through the ruins of ancient cities, half swallowed by the sand, reminders that even the greatest empires eventually crumble to dust. And with every mile you travel west, the value of the cargo on your camel's back increases. The peppercorns that were merely expensive in Samarkand are now fabulously so. The saffron is worth a king's ransom. You are shepherding a moving treasure chest across a continent. Months have passed, the seasons have turned. Your skin is darker, your body leaner and tougher. You have forgotten what it feels like to sleep in a stationary bed, to drink water without thinking about its cost. The slow, swaying rhythm of the camel is as natural to you now as breathing, and one day you smell it on the wind, a scent you haven't smelled in a very long time. It's a faint, salty, humid tang. The sea, the Mediterranean. You have crossed a continent. The final destination, perhaps the great trading hub of Antioch, is a revelation. It is bigger, more chaotic, more intensely crowded than any city you have ever seen. The languages are different, the faces are different, the very air feels different. Here, the final and most important phase of your business begins. You do not simply dump your goods on the market. You are a patient man. You find a respectable broker. You negotiate for days, even weeks. You sip endless glasses of sweet mint tea, haggling over fractions of a percentage. You display your goods, letting the quality of your saffron, the pungent aroma of your cloves speak for themselves. You have risked everything to bring them here, and you will not be cheated of your reward. Finally, a deal is struck. The prices are agreed upon. The money, a mix of currencies and letters of credit, is secured, and in that moment, a wave of relief so profound it almost brings you to your knees washes over you. You have done it. You have survived. You have succeeded. The journey is not yet over. You will rest for a while, and then you will begin the process in reverse. You will buy goods that are valuable in the East, fine European woolens, glassware, worked metal, coral, and join a caravan heading back the way you came. But for now, for tonight, you are simply a man who has reached his destination. You find a quiet room in a clean caravans. You eat a magnificent meal of fresh fish, something you have dreamed about for months. You are wealthy, you are successful, but as you lie down to sleep, the bed feels strange, unnervingly still. The city outside is loud, a cacophony of sounds that feels alien after the deep silence of the desert night. You close your eyes, and you can still feel it. The gentle, rolling sway of the camel. You can still hear it. The soft, rhythmic plodding of hundreds of feet on the sand. You can still see it. The impossible, breathtaking wheel of the stars in a black velvet sky. The road is still with you. It is a part of you now. And as you finally drift off, you are not dreaming of gold or spices, but of the vast, beautiful, terrible, and unforgettable emptiness, and the slow, steady, patient journey that brought you through it, all the way to the other side of the world. Chapter 5. The Solitary Light. Your life as a Victorian lighthouse keeper. That vast, beautiful, terrible emptiness does not leave you. It has simply changed its form. The endless ocean of sand has become an endless ocean of water. The patient plodding of the camel's feet has become the patient, eternal rhythm of the waves. And the breathtaking wheel of the stars above has been replaced. It's been replaced by a single man-made star. A star that you must tend to. A star that you must keep alive. The journey is over, but a new kind of vigil has begun. Your world is no longer wide and horizontal. It is now tall and narrow, and very, very lonely. Welcome to your new life. Welcome to the rock. It doesn't really have a name, not one that matters to you. It's simply the rock, a jagged fang of granite sticking out of a perpetually furious sea, miles from a coastline you can only just make out on the clearest of days as a faint, hazy smudge of green. The rock is your entire world. It is your foundation, your front yard, and your backyard, and rising from its center, cemented to its very bones, is the tower. It is a magnificent, terrible thing, a smooth, white-painted column of stone, tapered like a telescope, reaching 150 feet into a sky that is more often grey than blue. It looks less like something that was built, and more like something that grew here, a strange mineral plant defying the sea. It was built with interlocking stones, dovetailed together so precisely that the entire structure is, in essence, one single solid piece of granite. This is a comforting thought, and one you will cling to in the months to come. The tower is not just sitting on the rock, it is the rock, extended upwards. It is an extension of the planet itself, a defiant finger raised against the chaos of the ocean. Your arrival was not grand. A small supply tender, a boat that looked impossibly fragile as it pitched and bucked in the swell, brought you here. Getting from the boat to the rock was a terrifying, undignified ordeal involving a rope, a winch, and a moment of pure faith as you were hoisted through the spray, a sack of potatoes in a Royal Navy uniform, and then the tender was gone, its lonely steam whistle swallowed by the wind, leaving you with two other men and the ceaseless roar of the sea. This is your new family. The principal keeper, Mr. Abernathy, is a man who seems to have been carved from the same granite as the tower. He has a beard that looks like it could snag a fishhook, and eyes the colour of a winter sea. He speaks only when absolutely necessary, and every word lands with the weight of a stone. Then there's the first assistant, Jones, a wiry man with restless hands and a nervous energy that seems completely at odds with this place. And then there is you, the second assistant keeper, the rookie, the lowest rung on a very short ladder. Your life here is governed by a book, not the Bible, though that's here too, but the Book of Regulations from the Lighthouse Board. It is a slim volume bound in black leather, and it dictates every single moment of your existence. It tells you when to wake, when to sleep, when to eat, when to clean. It prescribes the exact uniform you must wear, heavy, dark blue wool that is always slightly damp and smells faintly of salt and oil. It dictates the hierarchy with the rigid severity of a warship. Mr. Abernathy is the captain. Jones is his first mate. You are the cabin boy. You will address them by their titles. You will not speak unless spoken to during watches. You will perform your duties without complaint. The book is designed to do one thing, to eliminate the friction that comes from trapping 3 men in a stone tube for months on end. Privacy is a luxury that was left on the mainland, alongside fresh milk and the sound of birds that aren't seagulls. Your tour of your new home is brief. It consists of climbing. The tower is a stack of circular rooms connected by a steep, curving iron staircase that spirals up the interior wall. Each step rings with a metallic clang that echoes in the confined space. The first room above the entrance is the storage room. It is packed to the ceiling with barrels of oil, sacks of flour and coal, tins of salted beef, and crates of biscuits. It smells of brine and paraffin and damp stone. This is your life support. Every meal you will eat for the next 3 months is in this room. Above that is the kitchen and living area. It's a single round room, perhaps 15 feet across. A small coal stove is bolted to the wall. A curved wooden table is bolted to the floor, and 3 narrow bunks are built into the curve of the wall itself. A few shelves hold a handful of worn books and a checkerboard. This is the social club, the dining room, the library, and the dormitory, all in one. It is claustrophobic and strangely cozy at the same time. The portholes are thick glass, bubbled and distorted, showing you only a swirling grey canvas of sea and sky. You keep climbing. Above the living quarters is the watchroom. This is the nerve centre. A desk, a logbook, a barometer, a telescope pointed out at the grey emptiness. This is where one man will always be, awake and vigilant, ready to sound the foghorn if a mist rolls in. The foghorn mechanism is a terrifying beast of compressed air and brass trumpets that, when activated, produces a sound so profound and mournful it seems to shake the very atoms of the tower. Jones explains that in a thick fog, you have to wind it and fire it every 5 minutes. For days on end, sometimes, you try not to think about that. And then you climb the final, steepest set of stairs and push open a heavy brass hatch, and you step into heaven. This is the lantern room. It is a cathedral of glass and light. The walls are all glass, a cage of triangular panes set in an iron frame, offering a staggering, terrifying 360-degree view of the ocean. The sheer vertical drop is dizzying. The wind hums a constant low note against the glass, and in the very centre of this glass chamber, sitting on a massive pedestal, is the lens. It is the most beautiful thing you have ever seen. It's a Fresnel lens, a masterpiece of optics and craftsmanship. It stands over 10 feet tall, a shimmering crystalline beehive built of hundreds of individually ground and polished prisms of glass, all arranged in concentric rings, all designed to capture every single photon of light from the lamp at its heart and focus it into one intensely powerful beam. It looks like a jewel made for a giant. It is the reason you are here. It is the god of this stone church, and your job is to be its most devout priest. Mr. Abernathy runs a hand over its surface, his rough fingers surprisingly gentle. "She's a first-order dioptric," he says, the most words you've heard him speak all day. The finest they make. He looks at you, his eyes serious. She is all that matters. You will keep her clean. Not just clean, perfect. A single fingerprint, a speck of dust, a smudge of oil. It can refract the beam. It can cost a ship its life. And so your true education begins. It is an education in the art of cleaning. At dawn, after the light has been extinguished, the great lens is given its daily bath. First, the heavy linen shroud is draped over the entire apparatus to protect it from the morning sun. Direct sunlight, focused through the prisms, could act like a giant magnifying glass and set the whole tower on fire. You learn this on your first day, and the knowledge settles as a cold knot in your stomach. Then the polishing starts. You are issued soft leather cloths called chamois, and a bottle of polishing spirits. You start at the top and work your way down. Each prism, each bullseye panel must be wiped with meticulous care. You learn to breathe away from the glass, so your own breath doesn't mar the surface. You learn to move around it with a slow, deliberate grace, because to chip or crack one of these panels would be an unthinkable, unforgivable sin. It is a slow, meditative process. For hours there is no sound but the squeak of leather on glass and the eternal howl of the wind outside. You polish and polish until the glass seems to disappear, until it becomes a pure, invisible vessel for light. The brass framework that holds the prisms must also be polished every day. You are given a tin of polish and a rag, and you rub until every square inch of the brass gleams like gold. It's a fight against the relentless, corrosive salt air that creeps in everywhere. It's a Sisyphean task, but a necessary one. It is part of the ritual. The heart of the god is the lamp itself. In this era, it's a colossal multi-wick oil lamp, a marvel of brass and engineering. Your job is to trim the wicks to a perfect uniform height, to clean the soot from the glass chimney, and to fill the reservoir with paraffin oil. It's a messy, smelly job. The oil gets under your fingernails and into the fabric of your uniform, a constant greasy perfume. The entire 10-ton apparatus of lens and lamp sits on a clockwork mechanism. This is what allows it to rotate, to send its life-saving beam sweeping across the ocean. The mechanism is driven by a great weight, a massive cylinder of iron that descends down a central shaft running the entire height of the tower. Part of the daily ritual is to wind it back up. It's a heavy physical task, cranking a large handle that slowly, painstakingly raises the weight back to the top of the tower. The sound of the crank and the rhythmic clank of the chain becomes the heartbeat of your day. Tick-tock, clank-clank, winding the clockwork god. The day settles into a rhythm dictated by the sun and the regulations. At dusk, the most sacred ritual of all takes place. Mr. Abernathy, as principal keeper, has the honor. He will ascend to the lantern room alone. He will remove the linen shroud, light the lamp, and with a gentle push, set the great lens into its silent, steady rotation. From below in the watchroom, you will see the first flash of light slice through the twilight, a blade of pure white against the deepening grey. One flash, then a pause of 10 seconds. Another flash. That is your lighthouse's signature, its name written in light upon the darkness. Every ship's captain for 100 miles will know this signature. He will check his charts, take his bearing, and know he is safe. Your life is divided into 4-hour watches, 2 men on duty, 1 man off. The man off is sleeping, or trying to. On duty, 1 man is in the watchroom below, maintaining the logbook, keeping an eye on the barometer. Every half hour he writes an entry. 10 p.m. Light burning bright, weather clear, wind force 3, sea moderate. It's a litany of reassurance. The other man is in the lantern room itself, a silent sentinel. Your first watch in the lantern room is an experience that redefines your understanding of the universe. You are suspended between the abyss of the sea and the abyss of the sky. The world is nothing but darkness, and the rhythmic sweep of the beam, the light glides over the churning, white-capped waves, illuminating them for a moment in a ghostly, spectral landscape before plunging them back into blackness. The sound is immense, the wind pressing against the glass, the distant, constant roar of the surf crashing against the rock below, and the gentle, almost silent whirring of the clockwork mechanism behind you. You are inside the machine. You are the ghost in the machine. Your sole purpose is to ensure that this light does not falter. You watch the flame, making sure it burns clean and bright. You watch the rotation, ensuring it is smooth and uninterrupted. You are a tiny, insignificant human, 50 feet in the air, in the middle of a vast and indifferent ocean, and yet for a few hours, you hold the lives of countless unseen sailors in your hands. The responsibility is crushing, and strangely, profoundly calming. It simplifies everything. There is only one thing that matters: keep the light burning. The hours, the days, the weeks begin to blur. The routine is your only anchor in a sea of time. You wake, you clean, you polish, you wind, you stand watch, you sleep. You eat the same food over and over. Salted beef, so tough you could sole your boots with it. Hardtack biscuits that you have to soak in tea to make them chewable. Tinned peas that taste of metal. Occasionally, Jones will manage to catch a fish from the lower gallery, and the smell of it frying in the galley is a momentary, joyous celebration. Conversation is sparse. The regulations and common sense discourage excessive familiarity. You learn about your companions not through what they say, but through their habits. You learn that Mr. Abernathy hums tunelessly to himself when he's polishing the brass, a low, gravelly sound like stones rolling in the surf. You learn that Jones is a ferocious checker player, and that he taps his foot incessantly when he's reading. They learn that you have a habit of tracing the patterns of condensation on the thick glass of the portholes. You are like 3 planets in a tiny solar system, held together by the gravity of the tower, each orbiting in your own prescribed path, rarely colliding. You learn to read the silences. A tense silence means Jones is losing at checkers. A comfortable silence means the barometer is steady. A heavy, listening silence means Mr. Abernathy has heard a change in the wind's song. You learn the language of the sea and the sky. You learn to distinguish a force 4 wind from a force 5 by the sound it makes in the iron railings outside. You learn to tell the difference between the high, thin clouds that mean nothing and the low, bruised-looking clouds that mean a storm is coming. You learn to love the rare, beautiful days when the sea is calm and blue, and a pod of dolphins might pass by, their sleek bodies arcing through the water in a display of pure, unburdened freedom that makes your heart ache. And then the storm comes. It doesn't arrive. It builds. For a day, the barometer falls steadily. The sea turns from grey to a venomous slate green. The waves, which are always present, begin to organise themselves, growing into huge, rolling mountains of water. The sky darkens, and the wind, your constant companion, begins to shriek. By nightfall, it is a full-blown gale, and this is where your abstract understanding of the tower's engineering becomes a visceral, terrifying reality. The tower is no longer a static object. It moves. When a particularly large wave, a liquid mountain half the height of the tower itself, crashes against the base, you feel it. A deep, resonant boom travels up the granite, and the entire structure shudders. A low-frequency vibration you feel in your bones, in the fillings of your teeth. The wind howls around the lantern room, a chorus of screaming demons. Rain, driven horizontally, sounds like handfuls of gravel being thrown against the glass. There is no sleeping now. All three of you are awake, on edge. The routine, however, does not stop. The light must burn. It is more critical now than ever. You take your turn in the lantern room, and it is like being strapped to the mast of a ship in a hurricane. You can feel the tower swaying, a subtle, nauseating motion. Through the glass you see nothing but a maelstrom of black water and white foam. Every few minutes, a wave of impossible size will burst against the tower and send spray flying right up to the top, and 50 feet in the air. The thick glass of the lantern pane streams with seawater, blurring the world outside into a watery hell. Mr. Abernathy is a rock. He moves with a calm, deliberate purpose, checking the lamp, checking the clockwork, his face impassive. His presence is more reassuring than 1,000 words. He simply does his job, and so you do yours. You write in the logbook, your handwriting shaky from the vibrations. Midnight, wind force 10, sea violent, tower trembling from wave strikes, light burning bright. The sound is the worst part. It's not just one sound, it's a symphony of chaos. The deep guttural roar of the ocean, the high-pitched scream of the wind finding every tiny crack and seam in the ironwork, the percussive crack of water hitting the glass, and underneath it all, the groaning of the tower itself, a living thing under immense strain. You find yourself thinking about those dovetailed blocks of granite, holding on to the idea of their strength, a mantra against the fear. Days can pass like this. The world outside ceases to exist. There is only the storm, the tower, and the light. The cramped living quarters become a sanctuary, the only place where the roar is slightly muffled. You drink scalding hot tea, you force down biscuits, you wait. You listen to the storm, trying to discern its mood. Is it weakening? Is it strengthening? It is an intimate, terrifying relationship. The storm is a living entity, and it is trying to kill your light. It wants to smash the glass, to extinguish the flame, to topple the tower. Your job is to sit inside its rage, and calmly, stubbornly, refuse to let it win. And then, as gradually as it began, it recedes. The wind's shriek lowers to a moan, then a sigh. The waves lose their venomous anger, becoming just large, rolling swells. The sky lightens, and one morning you wake up to sunlight streaming through the porthole, and a sea that is a brilliant, exhausted blue. The tower is still standing. The light is still burning. You have survived. A strange, quiet sense of euphoria fills the small room. You don't speak of it. You just nod at each other. Abernathy Jones and you. You have met the beast and faced it down. The aftermath of the storm is a week of repairs. Checking for leaks, tightening bolts, replacing any damaged equipment. The tower is bruised but unbroken, and you are changed. The fear has been replaced by a deep, abiding respect for the power of the ocean and an unshakable faith in the strength of the tower. You belong to it now, and it belongs to you. The loneliest moments are not during the storms, but in the long, quiet nights of calm weather. On your watch in the lantern room, the sea a flat sheet of black glass. The only movement is the slow, silent sweep of the beam. It's on these nights that you think of the world you left behind, You think of crowded city streets, of the smell of bakeries, of the sound of a dog barking, of conversation with more than two other people. You think of your family. You read and reread the letters you brought with you, until the creases are soft as cloth, and you know every word by heart. The isolation works on you in strange ways. Your senses become hyper-aware. You can smell a change in the weather. You can hear the subtle difference in the sound of the clockwork that tells you a gear needs oiling. Your world has shrunk to the diameter of this tower, but your perception within that world has become incredibly sharp. You learn to live inside your own head. You replay memories. You construct elaborate daydreams. You have long, silent conversations with yourself. You come to understand why some keepers, they say, go mad. The silence, the repetition, the sheer crushing monotony can be as dangerous as any storm. It is a different kind of monster, one that attacks from the inside. The cure is the routine, always the routine. Polish the brass, trim the wick, win the clockwork, log the weather. The simple repetitive tasks are a shield for the mind. They are a purpose. Then, one day, a smudge of smoke appears on the horizon. The tender, the excitement is a physical thing, a jolt of electricity that runs through the tower. For the first time in months, you will see new faces, you will get new supplies, mail, news from the outside world. All three of you are on the gallery, watching as the small boat grows larger, battling the swell. The transfer of supplies is a tense and dangerous ballet. The tender can't dock, it just gets as close as it dares. A line is thrown, and crates and bags are winched across the churning gap of water. You work quickly, efficiently, hauling in the precious cargo. New barrels of oil, fresh water, sacks of coal, and most precious of all, a crate of vegetables, a canvas bag of letters, and a bundle of old newspapers. The few minutes of shouted conversation with the tender's crew feel bizarre. Their voices are loud, their movements quick. They seem like creatures from another, faster-paced world. You have grown accustomed to the slow, deliberate rhythm of the tower. After the transfer is done, they wave, the steam whistle blows its lonely farewell, and the boat turns back towards the hazy line of the coast. You watch it until it is just a speck, and then it is gone, and the silence it leaves behind is deeper, more profound than any you have experienced before. The return to isolation is a physical shock. For a day or two, a strange melancholy hangs in the air, but then you open the mail. You read letters from loved ones. Their words a lifeline to a world you are beginning to forget. You read the newspapers, catching up on politics and events that feel utterly alien and unimportant from your granite perch. And you eat a fresh potato, boiled in its skin, and it is the most delicious thing you have ever tasted. And the routine reasserts itself. The new supplies are stowed. The rhythm of the watches, the polishing, the winding, takes over once more. The days slide into weeks. The seasons change, marked not by the turning of leaves, but by the angle of the sun and the changing character of the sea. Summer brings long, lazy days and the risk of thick, sudden fogs. Winter brings the screaming gales and nights that seem to last an eternity. You come to feel that you are not just operating a machine, you are part of one. You, Abernathy and Jones, are cogs in the larger mechanism of the light. The tower is the body, the lens is the eye, the clockwork is the heart, and you are the fragments of its will, the consciousness that keeps it all running. You are no longer just a man on a rock, you are the keeper of the light. And in the deepest, quietest hours of the night, during the long trek from midnight to 4 in the morning, you stand in the glass room at the top of the world. You watch the beam of light, your beam of light, carve its patient circular path through the infinite darkness. You are utterly alone, and yet you are connected to every ship, every sailor, within a 20-mile radius. They don't know your name, they will never see your face, but they see your light, they trust in your light. You are an anonymous promise, a point of certainty in a chaotic world. The rhythmic sweep of the beam becomes a comfort, a form of hypnosis. It slices through the darkness, glides over the water, and disappears into the void, and then it returns, again and again, a slow, steady, patient pulse, just like the plodding of the camels in the desert, just like the rise and fall of your own breathing as you begin to drift. The wind hums its low lullaby against the glass, the sea whispers its endless story against the rock below, and the light keeps turning, steady, patient, reliable. It will be there when you wake, It is a part of you now, a solitary light, burning against the vast, beautiful, terrible, and unforgettable emptiness, sweeping through the darkness, all the way to the other side of the night.